Hello! Hello, Horties. How are we doing today? Hopefully y'all are doing well. I'd say I'm doing okay so far, you know? Today was leg day. Leg day is quite a difficult day for me. It's just a sweaty time. Your hair looks nice, thank you. I feel like, yeah, it's looking very, like, rugged and manly today. Oh, you know what? Where is my remote control? I need this. This. The colors. Anyway. What is up? What is up? Over in the YouTube chat, what is up, Captain Cougar? We got Zuki Tanuki, Spacer's Choice, Celebrity Guest. Hello. And then, of course, you know, there's all kinds of people over in the website chat. We are fucking bumping today. It is bumping. Baphomet and Amy. We got Winter Nightmare, Willow Oak. There's PETA, Mama Mephistopheles, Andy's Mints, Corpse Candy, Timarinia. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, t-shirt stream. This is, you know, you know, occasionally you give in to the FOMO, right? You know, there's... I try to resist the fear of missing out. I don't want that to be the main purpose, the main driving reason why I do something. However, back when Ty Turner was making these shirts, this was actually maybe the second drop of the Fit to Me shirts. Maybe the second drop, not the first, but early on there. And, you know, so it's like specially made to be tighter in the arms so that your arms be looking buff. This bicep for sure has had some visible progress since last month, so that's cool. Yeah, but he doesn't make these anymore. They're not made anymore. Rip in pieces, boof arms, boof. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Yesterday was arms day, today was legs day. It's fucking gorgeous here, like 85 outside. Today's been a beautiful day. What's up, Shade? I actually think that it is above 80 degrees today. I think that in the Kansas where I live, I believe it is above 80 degrees today. And so it's like, and it's heckin' windy. That's the other thing, is it is heckin' windy. And I mean, it's not like my favorite weather, but I mean, it feels nice compared to it being cold all the time, for sure. It does not bode well for the summer, though. If it's April and it's fucking 80 degrees, it's 80 degrees Fahrenheit in April, it's not looking good for the summer. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. The cool got that the Goodwill I go to encouraged me to go outside today, and they were so right. I mean, it is a gorgeous day. It's like warm considerably. I'm literally slippery with sweat, 78 degrees inside with the AC on full blast. Yeah, I have mine set at 77, and the air is coming on regularly. This week, I'm gonna go ahead and go to the store, and I'm gonna buy the weather stripping that I need for some of my windows, and the putty that I need for some of my other windows, and try to not end up having like a $200 fucking electric bill all summer. My electric bill is already pretty high, so that's not very encouraging for the summer. Ooh, Zuki says we're getting a nice warm week, just waiting for winter 2.0, which always happens during April. I feel like for the most part in Kansas, we're fucking finished with the winter by the time April comes around. But sometimes, you never know. You never know. I think it's supposed to be relatively nice for the next week or so here. So I'm just grateful for that. And I'm hoping that it doesn't get considerably hotter this summer. I mean, it kind of seems like that's the way that we're trending. You got the cute gay streamer vines. I want them so much. The vines? They came from Amazon. I want to get a second set because I want them to be thicker. So that's I'm working my way toward that. Or alternately, they are on the wish list if you want to buy me something off the wish list. But my birthday is already done and over with, so I would understand if people feel like, oh, you've already been birthdayed. Totally get it. I wish they came in pure purple. The vines, because they, oh, here, let me get you the link, Zuki Tanuki. It's, I don't think I have it set up in the YouTube chat. Whoa. There you go. Is the stream breaking up or is it me? Well, like I said, it's like super windy here, so it would not surprise me if the internet were weird today, so just let me know. Let me know. Captain Cougar says, I remember one time an important thing was postponed because of a blizzard in May. God. Climate change. Figure your shit out. I do think that the purple vines would look better with the purple light, because that is one thing I will say about the purple light that is not my favorite thing, is that it washes out. I mean, I guess they're like, they're not like well lit enough to show up green. What happens if we do this? Yeah. I think like with a yellowish color, they can kind of look green like they're supposed to. That's like acceptable, you know? This is like a little foresty vibe, I feel, with the yellow background. This is like a little orangey color. I think that loses the quality that I want, though. I don't think that's quite... This is like a forest vibe. Rainforest Deluxe, exactly. But people do seem to like the purple, which is why the purple is usually what it is. So, I mean, maybe we'll experiment with this for today. I started making a wood frame to attach a vine mat to it. My secret, the secret of this, is that above here is just a piece of pipe. There's just a piece of pipe going across the wall there, and these are like draped over it. NB colors, listen, you can't actually put yellow and purple up at the same time, because if you mix yellow and purple, do you know what color they make? Brown. So, and the only other colors on the NB flag are black and white. It just doesn't really work out that well. Gotta get a massive pile of gold coins and other treasure. Yeah, is that what needs to go on this wall? Is like treasure? Like a pile of something? Anyway. Drink a little bit of water. It's early in stream. You gotta wet your whistle every once in a while. I want the vines to end below the headboard of my bed. The problem is I don't have a headboard. Very expensive. I know, Mama Mephistopheles. I've been like fantasizing about the big bed that I want to get. Like so, and that includes like I'm an adult now and I'm building credit and I have enough money to afford like a monthly payment beyond what I currently have right now. So I'm like, okay, when my credit is up to a certain number, I'm gonna try to get the big bed that I want, like the nice big bed that I want, and I'm going to hopefully be able to get a bed frame with like under bed storage and a headboard, and that it's gonna like bring the mattress off of the floor level, because I've been sleeping on a floor level mattress for the last like 10 plus years. Alaskan king. I'm gonna get like not a California king. I'm just gonna get a regular king size bed. And also like it's gonna be really, really, really soft. And I've tried one out and it's super comfy. And so I'm gonna get one. Excuse me. Burpee. I hit level 80 in Wrath. Nice! I think I'm level like 12 on a rogue. That is all I have on that. I don't want to go in on a big WoW tangent because I feel like that's going to kill the stream. But is it a big 4 poster with velvet drapes? No, it is not. That is not. Actually, it's on the wish list if you want to look at it. I don't know if it's possible for it to be purchased for me off the wish list because some people tried and were having issues before. But if you want to see the bed frame that I'm going to get, it's on the wish list. Warcraft now! Watching while I farm mounts and WoW. Yeah, I played a little bit this weekend, and I leveled up a rogue. You know, I made some mistakes, like not setting a Hearthstone. I just kind of forgot about it, and was mostly just running around back and forth. That was a mistake. Second mistake, well, not so much. I had like issues getting a certain quest item because the drop rate was just really low on the item, but I'm on a rogue, so it's so much easier because I can just be invisible. Would you say that WoW is your special interest? Nah, it's not really. I don't know. Do I even get special interests? Like, okay, Game of Thrones: A Song of Ice and Fire is a special interest of mine. Like in the sense that I think about it a lot and I can't not think about it a lot. But other stuff, it's hard for me to say if it's a special interest or if it's just like an interest. Like WoW is a nostalgia thing for me. And I was really into it for a certain period, but I also am like kind of annoyed with the game as it is now. I don't know. Season 8 rage building. I know. I like A Song of Ice and Fire more than I like the TV show Game of Thrones. I mean, House of the Dragon was good so far. We'll see. It's kind of hard to fuck it up. Like, I feel it's hard to fuck it up because the story's finished, you know? Anyhow, so yeah, those are kind of like my special interests as far as fantasy stuff goes. Like A Song of Ice and Fire. I'm obviously into dragons. That's a special interest of mine. I have like unreasonably strong opinions about dragons and things and like fantasy stuff, and yeah. It's like when I started working out, you guys were like, is this a special interest of yours now? And it's like, I don't know. I just want to be strong. And like it was a new thing and I had a lot to share because I had been just doing a bunch of research about it. It's not really a special interest though. It's just something that I do 4 days a week now. Not really. Like, not really getting much gains yet. We'll see though. I like dragons a lot, and that may have a tiny bit of influence on my return here. Yeah. Strong good. Boof, boof, boof. Most controversial dragon opinion. Oh. Controversial dragon opinion. Are there like controversial opinions about dragons? What's an example? What do you think is an example of a potentially controversial dragon opinion? Mine is that dragons can be mammals. Oh, you know what? I saw a post on Reddit recently that was asking what would dragons taste like? Like, what would dragon meat taste like if you were writing, like, a fantasy universe? And my opinion on that was that it would be like when those researchers responded to what T-Rex tastes like you should not eat dragon meat. Yeah, Smuggy. Feathered dragons. Yeah, I have a take a firm stance against feathered dragons. Not happy about it. I want to know what dragon meat tastes like, TBH. I can't go get it because it would just be pointlessly breaking TOS, but I do have a toy from Bad Dragon that does look, it has like scales and it looks like a dragon. Frozen up? Am I frozen? No? Everything seems okay on my end. Like chicken. You have a Orochi? Yeah. I was a little bit ambitious with my purchase, and it was too big for me to use on a regular basis. As it turns out. I don't have Orochi, I have Kelvin. Ah, okay. Anyway, dragons should be feathered like dinosaurs. I don't... no. I disagree. I don't know. I mean, it makes sense, kind of, but I mean, you're not required to be bound by evolutionary rules. Like, if your dragons have arms and wings, then that is like a completely different evolutionary chain. Like, because every animal on Earth has like 2 shoulder sockets and not 4. So if you were to have these arms and the wings, then that's like 4 shoulder sockets. 2 of our headmates are feathered dragons. You know, your headmates are valid, but generally speaking, in fantasy, I don't think like if that's your embodiment, then you know I cannot argue against it. I just think that it's a practical, like a bad choice design wise in stories. Dragons don't need wings. I think enforcing realistic rules onto dragons is stupid. They're not real, so why should they be bound by the rules of our world? Lux, if you endorse feathered dragons, I'll share my edamame with you. Is it flavored edamame or is it just edamame? Fireproof feathers. Yeah, that's the thing, is like, it's just edamame with salt. A feathered dragon would just be a big bird. Basically, feathered dragons aren't more ridiculous than dragons that can turn into gnomes, and yet Gromi exists, and we love her. Yeah, I mean, shapeshifting and having, like, a humanoid form, I'm, like, less offended by that. Counterpoint, fluffy, soft dragon. Can you imagine a baby dragon covered in down? Like, covered, like, the baby dragon would be covered in that, like... Can you just imagine how, like, scrungly they would look as babies? They would be so scrungly. Dragons with asbestos feathers. Yeah, that would be adorable. A fluffy pink and blue dragon. That would be adorable. The claws should... This is a Dark Canuck's opinion, is the claws should be at the wings, and then when the wings are retracted, they work as arms. I mean, no matter what, if the wings are like bat wings, then that's like the hand. Like, the hand bones get all long and, like, creepy. And so then if they're retracted in, they have to be like this, with their hands, like, folded down, you know? So, like, you might have the tip one here, like a little claw that you could maybe do some stuff with in a limited capacity, which would basically essentially be at the wrist, like, with a little claw on it. It's bad when the dragon has no arms/hands and only wings, or has separate arms and wings. Should be combined. I disagree. Like having a, we're in support of this like wing arm hybrid idea. I mean, I would not describe this well. Like, okay, so it has like 2 claws there. It's just weird. I mean, like, I guess it kind of looks like it's following the rules. Like, it kind of looks like this is his thumb. Like, this is his elbow. And this is the wrist. And so the thumb is coming off the wrist. And then this is like the pointer finger. And then 1, 2, 3 fingers coming back. That kind of looks like it's meant to be a hand now that I'm looking at it. But I mean, I get the point. And that, you know, the wyvern brings dragons into a place where they could be, evolutionarily speaking, like, not totally separate from all other animals on the planet. You know what I mean? This reminds me a lot of bats. Well, yeah, because the typical bat wing, it, like, you know, is kind of similar to the dragon wings, generally speaking. Humans are anti-dragons because we breathe water. Wait, what? I mean, technically dragons also breathe water. I had no idea that the sex of reptiles' offspring is determined by what temperature it is when the eggs hatch. I thought that was a dragon thing exclusively. I like how in A Song of Ice and Fire, Maester Aemon says that dragons are neither male nor female, but rather like now one, now the other, like... which is just pretty cool. And because he's talking about how the Valyrian language is gender neutral also. Or whatever. Dragons breathe phlogiston. Yeah, the phlogiston. Mm-hmm. Oh, we have an article about vampire bats. I don't like bats anymore. I used to think that they were adorable, and now I understand that they're horrendous disease vectors, and now I don't like them. Just not a big fan. Yo, I forgot that. I haven't read the books in years. Yeah, it's like Maester Aemon is talking to Sam about it, I think. Leaving this chat? Oh, no. Oh, we're just... this. Are you giving me this as an example? For the wings? Yeah. I mean, you can... like, this is how wyverns walk around. I might have to read the book. Let me make a suggestion. I'm gonna make a quick suggestion to you. And that's that the audiobooks are available on a certain website called the YouTube. So let me find it for you really quick. Here is the link to the thing if you want to see the first book. Be cool and don't tell anyone. Dragons breathe floss? What? But bats are major native pollinators, and bats on farms greatly reduce the risk of pesticides. Hey, you know what? That's fine. they need to be away from human populations is just the thing, like, about bats. As like, I'm fine with bats being essential to the ecology of a place. That's perfectly fine. They just need to be nowhere near human beings. Human beings need to not be there. Because here's the thing. John Oliver segment about it. Bats don't have an immune response, basically. Your phone has probably more germs than a bat. The only difference is phones don't bite. I mean, like, the problem is that new things can mutate inside the body of a bat. And that's why we get new diseases from fucking bats. Because they're horrendous, like, disease factories. And, like, it's the opportunity for mutation that is a problem. They're good for the environment. They eat bad bugs. I don't want the bugs. But I also really passionately do not want to be around bats in any capacity. Just no. Not one. Nope. It's a fuzzy dragon. And it also has scales. I just don't picture, I guess I don't picture dragons as having evolved from the same kind of dinosaurs that became birds. Like, I don't think of dragons as being related to pterodactyls, you know? So, that's why the feathers thing. Yes, it's Falcor. Yes, it is. I know. I got a little bat who lives in the attic, and he shall always be welcome. There was a bat in the hallway of one of our old apartments that I took outside once. It was a cute story. Keep your kids away from bats. If you see an injured one, call a bat rescue. Do not touch them as someone getting trained to work with them. Don't touch. Eric, back then I had to call the local, like, wildlife whatever and be like, I was like, what do I do with this bat? It's inside. And they were like, well, it's probably trying to do their, like, temporary hibernation thing. So you just need to, like, get a leather glove and then get a towel between you and the bat and the glove, like, towel, and use the towel to get the bat gathered up, and then just kind of, like, hang the towel in a tree outside until the bat crawls off, presumably within a day or two. So that's what I did. I took care of it myself because that's what the local wildlife people told me to do, and it was fine. He showed me his teeth. He went, ah. And I was like, oh, you stop it. It's another thing about living near a bunch of caves. You see bats. At work, I have overtime once a week, and I thought there were hundreds of barn swallow birds, but there weren't. There were hundreds of bats. They came out from every nook and cranny at sunset. Watching the sunset, you would see the bats fly at the same time. Yeah, yeah, they're cool and they're very sweet animals, but the disease vector, it's, how are we supposed to live apart from bats and still have baseball? They're changing the rules a lot on the public handling them, more so to prevent us from giving them fungi. Not mad, just a PSA. I'm just saying, like, you know, I guess I could, if the issue arises again, I could call someone and be like, what do you want me to do with this bat? But I don't know. Kansas is not the most progressive of states, so I doubt that there are advanced provisions for the care of bats here. They are endangered, and so you can't, like, kill them, but you gotta get them outside. Cheers. Hail hydrate, y'all. Yeah. Give the bats fungi. Bats create fungi disease. Last of Us time. True. Is it worth it to watch Last of Us? Do I need to do this at some point? I know that Bella Ramsey is non-binary. Like, shout out to Bella Ramsey. Yeah, you don't want a bat inside your house. That's not good. Leather gloves and towel works. Took injured bat to local bat handler. I just put it outside, and it just like left after a... Part of the problem is that bats can't really take off from the ground. So if you have a bat that's like on the floor, it might need your help. So, you know, and especially if it's indoors, like, because what are they going to do? They're going to crawl around and not know where the door is. So you pick them up and you take them outside and you put them in a tree. I like the show, never played the game. Oh, no, yeah, I've never played The Last of Us either. I'm just wondering if the show is good. The Harry Gay Guys episode really touched me. Vaccination program for bats. How would you even begin? There are so many of them. If you don't like bats, you might not want to visit Austin, Texas. Yeah, I know that there's lots of bats I don't really want to visit Texas for any reason. Once upon a time, I was like, maybe it would be cool to visit the ACA, the atheist community of Austin, and then I don't really care about that anymore. So I have a friend who lives in Austin, and other than that, I have no reason to go there. I already live in Kansas. Like, it's fucking conservative enough here, okay? I go to Austin for the music and the queers. This makes it clear to me that we do need to do a fun race for the cure for rabies. A fun run race for the cure for rabies. Bats in attics here are protected. Planning regs require you to build them access. Oh my god, really? Like, you're supposed to allow bats into your attic? I used to live in New Mexico. I have come in contact with more bats in Ohio. Ohio is just a horrendous place to live, from everything that I've heard about it. Why would anyone choose to live there? Kansas, on the other hand. Oh, no. I've been reading some fucking shenanigans about the legislation here in Kansas this year. They're not being very productive in the legislative session here, for sure. Ohio in here, can't really argue. Yeah. Austin is actually extremely queer. I like it up there. Too expensive to live there at the moment, though. It's fucking just so hot in Texas. And you don't have any rights there. Like, it's getting worse here in Kansas for sure in some regards. But yeah, I mean, it's relatively cheap to live here. I'm like thinking, I'm probably going to be the person that my teenage siblings move in with as they get ready to go to college. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I need to be able to like afford to have an apartment or a house that's big enough for at least one, if not both of them, before this time next year, maybe. So, I mean, the only way that would be that's doable with my job, which, like, thank you all for liking the video and being here, and thank you for your donations, because I love that I'm able to do this and support myself. But it would not be doable if I didn't live in a place that's super cheap to live. I assume Kansas is one of the places where 32% of the electorate results in 78% Republican legislature. I don't think it's as bad as 78%, but it's not great. It's definitely gerrymandered here, and we do manage to get, when the popular vote comes out, we successfully vote in favor of in favor of abortion rights, and we managed to get a Democratic governor, but our House and our Senate in the state still tend to be Republican, and we've had enough Republican governors that our Supreme Court tends to be pretty Republican, which is also why our districts are so fucked and gerrymandered, and like the Supreme Court said, nah, they're not gerrymandered, don't worry about it. And then we're not going to rewrite them for 10 years, so. I have a 3-bedroom house you can rent in Ohio. Yeah. Forgot about the abortion rights referendum. Yeah, I mean, it was a stellar win. We had, I think it was like, oh God, what were the numbers? There's like 2.2 million voting adults. There's like 2.2 million adults of voting age in Kansas, and about like more than 900,000. It was like 977,000 voters came out and voted on that referendum. So almost half of all voting age adults came out and voted, and of that number, there was like 547,000 votes in favor, or something like that. So like fully more than 1/4 of all voting age adults in Kansas voted to protect abortion rights here, which was awesome. And it felt good to know that that was going to happen. Like they did shitty timing as well. Like they really tried to make it a low turnout thing. And it just so happened that the campaign to defeat this, like to defeat the attempted constitutional amendment, they just didn't expect that we were going to push so hard on the campaign on it. Like, vote no to protect women's rights, basically, to protect Kansans' rights to make their own medical decisions. Bats are highly protected in a lot of places across the country, I guess. Most seasons, you legally have to let them hang out up there in your attic and not let your cats near them once they get in, or you can have a bat moving team come in. If you want to do a long stream, the Wisconsin Supreme Court election is today, and the polls close at 8 p.m. our time zone, buddy. Yeah, I know that is tonight, isn't it? Well, I mean, 8 p.m. is not too late for when we... Well, yeah, the election results are not going to be finished coming in until, like, midnight, though. Or I guess if it's only this... if it's only one state, then maybe it'll be a little bit quicker. I don't know. We do have a couple of news things to talk about today, for sure. We have relatively conservative judges in Virginia, but they're not radical conservatives. That is a relief, for sure. Queer people in Texas are made of strong stuff. Oh, yeah. I think I saw this on Twitter. LGBTQ plus student group sues university president for canceling drag show. A West Texas A&M student-led LGBT organization and its leaders have filed a federal lawsuit after a student drag show was canceled Monday by the university's president, who called such shows derisive, divisive, and demoralizing misogyny, drawing backlash from students and free speech advocates. The lawsuit filed Friday by the student organization Spectrum WT against university president Walter Wendler and other school leaders alleges that Wendler is, quote, openly defying the Constitution. In a published edict, President Wendler barred a recognized student group from exercising its clear First Amendment right to put on a PG-13 charity drag show at a campus event hall with the aim of raising funds for LGBTQ suicide prevention. The plaintiffs are asking the court to stop the school from preventing the drag show from moving forward on March 31st and from holding similar future events on campus. They seek damages and attorney's fees for the school administration's alleged First Amendment violations. In an email to the school community Monday, Wendler said, quote, drag shows discriminate against womanhood. He compared them to blackface and said there was, quote, no such thing as a harmless drag show. A harmless drag show? Not possible. I will not appear to condone the diminishment of any group at the expense of impertinent gestures toward another group for any reason, even when the law of the land appears to require it. Oh, man. Wow. Wow. What a fucking victim mentality, dude. President Wendler's edict canceling the student group's charity drag show is textbook viewpoint discrimination. Oh, man. That's gonna be fun. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm not particularly hopeful that it's gonna go well, because I think that at some point they're gonna continue to call into question, like, the lascivious acts. Like, they're just gonna continue to equate any cross-dressing with a lascivious act, and therefore it's not protected speech. It's a pretty important race because it could tip scales on the Supreme Court. Yeah. Oh, no, I know. Yeah, so I participated in a live stream a couple weeks back, helping try to get people to canvass for the Wisconsin election, the Supreme Court election, because basically, it's basically that Wisconsin was one of the important voting, like the Supreme Court there judged a case that had to do with counting votes, right? And it was quite narrow. So if we can get a progressive person in there, not only is it going to protect abortion rights in the state of Wisconsin, but it's going to potentially impact the next presidential election. Because if it comes into question, like, the correct counting of votes or that type of thing, then we want progressive majority on the Supreme Court in Wisconsin, particularly. Like, Wisconsin in particular. And it's going to be like a 10-year appointment. So she's going to be in for 10 years if we can get her in. Protasewicz, I think is her name. Judy? Is it Judy Protasewicz? As a feminist, for fuck's sake, full body cringe, just include drag kings too and call it a day. That's a really interesting... I have an interesting question. Why are there so many more drag queens than there are drag kings? Like, is there a historical reason why? Or are there? Is it actually that there are about the same number, but drag queens just get more airtime? Like, what is the deal here? Yeah, true, Baby Squid. Does he actually care about any of that stuff? Or is he just one of those, I care about women only when it's a chance to attack LGBT people, right? Judge Judy, if you will. Is that her actual name? Is it Judy Protasewicz? Janet. Damn it, Janet. Her name is Janet Protasewicz. Janet. The laws for women cross-dressing was harsher than they were for men historically. Really? Men have more money, appeal to the people with money. No one books kings. It's more fun to be a woman. This all makes me want to be a drag king, low-key. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the arguments that they make is that they'll say, yeah, why did such an important election have to hinge on a person with such an unspellable name? What's up, Spider? Hello. We were chatting a little bit about Wisconsin and the election there and why there aren't as many drag kings. But yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that conservatives bitch about is they go like... Well, drag is obviously inherently about ridiculing womanhood because obviously there are so many drag queens and they're all called Drag Queen Story Hour. Well, if it wasn't perverted men trying to dress like women, then why, you know, blah, 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 etc. Da-da-da-da-da. Would 100,000% go to a drag king show? Yes. Yeah, I guess it's, like, easier in some ways to do. I mean, there's, like, more of a variety, I feel, of feminine looks than masculine looks, but maybe that's just a lack of imagination. I don't know. Oh, wow. At that time, she says, you had to be wearing 3 pieces of female attire in order to avoid being arrested for cross-dressing. What the fuck? Okay, what it's like, okay, what if it's like, I'm wearing 2 feminine shoes and 1 dress? That's 3. Oh, gosh. Janet was the name of Patrick Starr's fake mother, and I think that's important. Well, I went ahead and called attention to it. What are we looking at here? Okay, how dressing in drag was labeled a crime in the 20th century. In the 1940s, 50s, and 60s, police arrested LGBTQ people based on an informal 3-article rule. The Stonewall riots helped turn the tide against these arrests. Rusty Brown started dressing as a man, first as a disguise to get a factory job since she lost her wartime position as a machinist at the close of World War II, and then in order to work as a drag king. This is when her troubles began. Quote, I've been arrested in New York more times than I have fingers and toes, she told an interviewer from the San Francisco Lesbian and Gay History Project in 1983, for wearing pants and a shirt. At that time, she says, quote, you had to have 3 pieces of female attire in order to avoid being arrested for cross-dressing. In LGBTQ circles around the country, this was known as the 3-article rule, or the 3-piece law. It was referenced everywhere, including in reports about arrests in Greenwich Village in the weeks and months leading up to the Stonewall riots. The problem is, the law technically never existed. Instead, accounts suggest that police generally used old, often unrelated laws to target LGBT people throughout the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Police officer arrests a person in a ball gown, an alleged crossdresser. Also, that means if someone was dressing androgynously, they could still be arrested. Right. Masquerade laws revived to target LGBTQ. There were laws criminalizing cross-dressing, and they spread like wildfire around the United States in the mid-19th century. New York, dating back to 1845, was one of the oldest. It declared it a crime to have, quote, your face painted, discolored, covered, or concealed to be otherwise disguised while in a road or public highway. The state originally intended the law to punish rural farmers who had taken to dressing like Native Americans to fight off tax collectors. But as scholar William Eskridge Jr. recounts in his encyclopedic book, Gay Law, quote, by the beginning of the 20th century, gender inappropriateness was increasingly considered a sickness and public offense. Existing laws against costumed dress, even if they didn't specify cross-dressing, they collectively were referred to as masquerade laws, and were increasingly pressed into service around the country to punish gender variance. The fact that these laws were often ill-suited to the task didn't matter. See, that's always the thing about these, the fascist, like, usurpation of government in order to penalize gay and trans people. Like, here you go. Here it is. They will use laws that are totally unrelated to us. Like, they're trying to use, I think in Missouri, they're trying to use a business and commerce law of some kind in order to make it so that you can't, like, have a business as a doctor, or, like, you can't have a pharmacy that dispenses hormones to trans youth or whatever. Like, oh my God. I'm sorry, but the farmer thing is objectively hilarious, problematic, and no doubt was. Yeah, it's so weird to make a law against wearing even that is really indirect. They're like, we're going to make a law against wearing a costume in public on a public road or whatever, instead of, like, making tax evasion. I mean, tax evasion is already illegal, I guess, is the thing. So they're just trying to make it so that it's harder for you to do tax evasion. My grandmother's senior class orchestrated senior skip day for the girls by wearing jeans to school, knowing that they would be sent home in 1963. Wow. The most significant drag king I can think of is Honeytree Evil Eye, aka Spuds McKenzie. A female dog was cast as a human male and became more popular than the beer they were selling. Spuds McKenzie. Is that like a Futurama made a reference to that? With Slurms McKenzie or something along those lines? Anyway. Touching my hair a lot. Phone, why do you make noise? Cease and desist. Okay, Yeah, in Brooklyn in 1913, a person who we would today call a trans man was arrested for, quote, masquerading in men's clothes, smoking, and drinking in a bar. When the magistrate noted that the state's masquerade law was intended only to criminalize costumed dress used as a cover for another crime, the police were forced to let the man go. However, they promptly rearrested him, charging him with, quote, associating with idle and vicious persons, and found a new magistrate to try the case. When he was found guilty and sentenced to 3 years in a reformatory, the judge made it clear that despite the new charge, he was being punished for his dress. Quote, no girl would dress in men's clothing unless she is twisted in her moral viewpoint, the magistrate proclaimed from the bench. Wow. So arrests like this became more and more common throughout the mid-20th century. They revolved around these masquerade laws, none of which specified a number of articles of clothing to avoid arrest. So this goes further into where the 3 rules comes from. Fascinating. Yes, I love being twisted in my moral viewpoint. Cheers. What a lovely night. Yeah. Yeah, the short answer of why less drag kings is patriarchy. That's so interesting. I mean, and it's weird because today, you know, the rules for women are a lot more flexible than the rules for men. You know, I think that it's obvious in this day and age that these anti-drag laws that are coming up now are meant to target trans women. And so it's interesting to me. I wonder if there will be a resurgence in drag kings as more women realize that, like, there's not, that there's an undue amount of scrutiny. Because it's like women wearing pants is no big deal. Women can wear jeans. Jeans were originally work pants for men. And now women wear jeans and they're tight and they're, you know, like, not practically for the purpose of working or whatever. And that's not, it's like really not considered cross-dressing anymore, even though it basically functionally is. There has been more drag things too. And we drag, oh, I had never thought about drag things. That's an excellent phrase for that. I definitely know at least one person who I think could qualify as a drag thing if they were comfortable being called that. We've surely progressed since then. If that arrest happened today, the White House and the Capitol would lose half their windows to rocks. I mean, you say that, and Uncom, but there are anti-drag laws being passed, like Montana. Was it Montana today? Come for me, Aaron, in the morn. Tell me about Montana. Montana. Drag thang. Yeah, people also said that about book bans, and now those are also a real thing. Did you know jeans were made for non-binary hipsters originally? True, you're not allowed to wear jeans. Only non-binary hipsters. Now I want to hear Take Me Home Country Roads. I don't know most of the words to that. I think I might know only the actual words, like Take Me Home Country Roads. Like, that might be the only words to that I know. Tennessee also passed an anti-drag law. Yeah, they actually did pass that one, didn't they? I think Aaron was saying that this bill in Montana was potentially one of the worst in the country. The Tennessee one is in the courts now. Yeah, there's a reason LGBTQ people are migrating to Canada. Yo, It's gonna be a couple years before we can start to get the fuck out of here. Like, my siblings are gonna... I'm gonna try to maybe, like, get them through community college. So it'll be a few years before I can move out of here. Now, how many states are passing gun bans in response to mass shootings? It's really easy to guess the number. Yeah, is the number 0? I'm moving to a state where I can buy a gun at least. I still don't think I want to get a gun unless I'm gonna join a local group. And even then, I might wait and just, like, figure out how to do self-defense in some way that doesn't involve guns. Montana, the last state that still lets people rent out old uranium mines for, quote, radium therapy. Mask stuff in nature is so yassified. Why are humans so boring with fashion? It's true. How about, like, male birds? Just one of the first results for male birds. Speaking of yassified male birds. What the fuck is radium therapy? Doesn't Tom Scott have a video about it? I think Tom Scott might have a video about it. Possibly better to play a support role in community defense. Yeah, potentially. Maybe I just need to do... Maybe I do need to buckle down and just get my... And, like, take the Stop the Bleed course if I can find one. I gotta start taking notes of these things when I mean to do things, you know? It's like a bad habit of mine that I think about it during stream, and then I don't make a note, and then I forget for later. You need that fresh morning glow? Try radium therapy. True. Okay, I gotta look up, see if there's a Stop the Bleed course. Yeah. That's like the main thing I need to figure out how to do. Learn how to give sutures and see. Have a set of items you need in the event of fleeing. Fleeing, I don't think is really an option for me right now. Like, it's not an option until I have my younger siblings, you know? Low-level radon therapy for rheumatoid arthritis is actually potentially a legitimate option. My late partner got it in Germany when she lived there and had a good result. For most things, kind of quack science, though. It's like, if it makes you feel better and it doesn't kill you, then I guess, like, I don't know. Yeah, first aid kits are good to have. Every community defense group needs at least 1 tank, 1 healer, and 2 DPS. I am a level 1 cleric. In British Columbia, we are due for a huge earthquake. Ooh, that sounds fun and scary. That sounds really fun and scary. Let me see. Oh, maybe I'll just leave that open. My left eardrum is just acting so weird lately. It's very strange. Very strange. I don't think this one is gonna pass in Montana, though. It kind of seems like... Yeah, I think it's probably gonna be okay, the one in Montana. I am not advocating for violence, only the elimination of fascism from public life at every level. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that there should be violence. I'm just saying that that fascism and Nazism should be eradicated from public life in at every level, in every conceivable way. What's up, Jelly Bee? Hello. Oh gosh, I have so many tabs open today. Okay, Wisconsin. Wisconsin Supreme Court election. Okay, so we'll have this open. We currently have no reported results because it's only 6 p.m. But hopefully we'll start seeing... I mean, I'm hoping we'll start seeing stuff come in, like, right at 8. And we will see if we're gonna continue watching this actively for a lot longer after that. Because I don't know, I might be tired later. I'm trying to eat more, and I'm gonna have to... I gotta, like, plan time to eat dinner tonight. How many calories do I still need to eat today? I still need to eat... I'm gonna try eating spaghetti tonight, and I haven't had it in a while, because the last time I had it, I thought that it made me sick, but maybe it didn't, so I'm gonna try again. If capitalism exists, fascism exists, so not a surprise, not gonna lie. Yeah, I think that, like, capitalism naturally leads to the consolidation of power that goes hand in hand with fascism. For sure. I've got popcorn. I ate an entire bag of popcorn the other night. It was delicious. Excuse me. Goody. That was another one. Why did I have my phone out? I needed my phone for something. I don't know what it was. Oh yeah, I was gonna figure out how much food I needed to eat today still. I have a little app, and I tell the app how much food I've eaten, and how much exercise I've done, and then it tells me what I'm allowed to eat. So I still have a good amount of calories left for the day. Whoa! Yeah, ADHD moment, exactly. I found whole wheat or rice pasta works for me, but not normal pasta. Yeah, I am still trying to work it out, like, what the issue is. I don't get the fascination with tiptoeing around the legal threshold. Just do whatever you want offline and then don't talk about it. Yeah, I mean, you know, you gotta be careful, you know, even if you're saying, like, I think someone should da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You gotta be careful even with that when you're online. Like, even if you have no intention of doing anything offline, you gotta be careful about what you say. Because, you know, this is you know, we live in the kind of country where you might get someone knocking on your front door because of something you said online. I don't know if the wheat is the problem, or if it was, something else about the spaghetti. Ooh. Excuse me. Yeah, wow, I just don't know that I've been sleeping enough lately, is part of it. Say everything in Roblox? That doesn't work, actually, Jellybee. Recently, a guy was arrested and, like... And it was not a usable defense in Minecraft thing. Crazy to me how we can be having these conversations while presidential candidates and conservative pundits can advocate for genocide no problem. I mean, that's how it works. You know, the people in charge are fascist, and they're using fascist tactics to suppress our speech, and they want to kill us, and they know that they want to kill us, and that the appropriate retaliation from us would be to return in kind. So they have to stop us from being able to do that. They have to stop us from being able to effectively organize around those kind of goals. Like, it naturally makes sense. They're treating us like a hostile enemy because they have positioned themselves as a hostile enemy to us. Yeah, remember, just say, I want to eliminate people I don't like ism from public life. Proven to be effective. Durum wheat used in pasta and pizza bases can be specifically an issue because very high gluten. Maybe. I also, like, there were, onions, and onions can cause, like, issues for FODMAP people, you know. Yeah, I understand Morningstar system for sure. Need long periods of uninterrupted sleep for good digesting. Oh, I'm so excited. Like, I'm hoping that by this summer, I have good enough credit to get the nice bed. Oh, I want the nice bed. Oh, I want it so bad. It's literally Planet of the Apes. Literally. FODMAP. I can't remember what FODMAP actually stands for. It's like types of foods that don't finish digesting in your upper digestive tract. They have like chemicals in them that create fermentation in your lower digestive tract, and that causes you like gas and bloating and weird poops. Like, think of beans and how they consistently provide farts. It's because they're fermenting in your guts because they're not digesting fast enough, essentially. Om nom? Is that your response to this? Om nom? God bless everyone. Okay, so we got the Wisconsin thing open. Montana drag bill. We glanced at that really fast. Really fast. Eat the beans. Yo. You know, I'm thawing out the ground beef right now, but a part of me does kind of want to eat like a refried bean dip later. Oh, that could be yummy. Is Trump in prison yet? Ooh, yes, that's a good question. Under arrest is trending on Twitter, so there's that. I finally got the Doge like 4 days after, April Fool's. Congratulations, good job, Elon. It took you 4 days to push out this April Fool's joke to the website. Ooh, bean burrito for lunch today. Yummy. Dip is always a good choice. What else would you put in a bean dip? Like, what else do you put in the bean dip? I don't have any salsa right now. Or I would just put salsa and sour cream, like, on top of refried beans and call it a day. Ooh, let's get the earbud. Let's get the earbud. Chipotle peppers are good in a bean dip. Hot sauce goes on everything. Melted cheese if you want your body to complain later. Maybe I should keep chipotle peppers around. I used to have some chipotle powder, like chipotle pepper powder. And then I can't find it anymore. I can't find it at the store anymore. Tabasco sauce. Yeah. And the bean dip is also really thick. So I was thinking, like, I don't know, do you mix anything in with the beans to thin them out a little? Or is it just beans with, like, toppings and you just dip it? I have my sad Cheetos. How are sad Cheetos different from regular Cheetos? Look at the disdain this representative has for citizens of his state. Braxton Mitchell was so mad that he only got 3 people to testify in favor of his drag ban in Montana that he called the 50-plus people that testified against it, quote, people with no jobs. Oh, hold on, let me turn this down before it gets really loud.
Side against this bill. There was mention about the amount of testimony on one side against this bill. Well, I'm sure if we got every person in the state who is working right now and actually has a job, unlike most of these folks here, it seems like, then I'm sure we'd see a pretty different ratio. There was also mention by the opposition that this bill is being brought by... Yep. Okay. There was also mention by the opposition that this bill is being brought up by a carpetbagger. Well, I'm born and raised in the state, and I'm pretty sure most of the members of this committee are born in the state as well. A lot of these opponents are not. Myself, as well as the vast majority of the folks in Montana who are level-headed, asked for a yes vote to protect Montana children. I don't think anyone wants to go back home and say they voted to allow drag queens in schools. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
This ends.
Let me make sure to get that first bit. Make sure the volume is... I've adjusted the volume. I finally figured it out toward the end of that there, so let's just...
There was mention about the amount of testimony on one side against this bill. Well, I'm sure if we got every person in the state who is working right now and actually has a job, unlike most of these folks here, it seems like, then I'm sure we'd see a pretty different ratio. There was also mention by the opposition that this bill is being brought by.
Yep. Okay.
There was also mention.
People hollering in the back and everything. Damn. Like contempt for the constituents right there. He's just like asserting that these people don't have anything better to do with their time. And he's asserting that there are people who are being trafficked in from elsewhere. Which is so funny because of the fact that like so many of these anti-kids transitioning bills are like hinging on the testimony of people who just keep getting flown around and around the country, like Chloe Cole, just repeatedly flown around the country to tell people about their detransition. Yeah, exactly. Which side has to keep flying around the same fucking 3 detransitioners? So it looks to me like the Montana thing is gonna be fine. When they had Matt Walsh coming to Texas. So today, Matt Walsh, I saw Mama Mephistopheles, he posted in the Discord, which join the Discord if you're not in the Discord. Oh my God. But Matt Walsh is supposed to be giving a talk at a college, I think. The talk is like about, oh, what is it? Oh, come on, Matt Walsh. Where are you? Let me see the profile of the theocratic fascist. Where is it? Dude, do you have anything else going on? I think, like, is his job to tweet? Like, is tweeting his job? Because he does that a lot. He does tweet a lot. Okay, well, here's a picture of the tweet that I was searching for. I'll be speaking at New Mexico State University on April 4th. My talk is called Genocide: How the Trans Agenda Destroys Human Life and Common Sense. So he's pivoting to accusing us of doing a genocide. You should look at how much Jordan Peterson tweets. Yeah. I wish it was, I mean, I don't get enough traction on my tweets for it to be my job to tweet. I haven't seen anything come out of it. Maybe it just went totally unremarkably. I'd love to know just how many people would actually show up. Right. A genocide of who? It destroys human life and common sense. We are genociding all human life and common sense. You know? Taco spice and cheese. Yeah, maybe I should... I was thinking spaghetti because I've been... Oh, you know, I haven't updated you at all about having my IUD removed. But it's gone now. And we don't really need to go into too much detail about it because the long story short is that having it removed went a lot better than I was hoping it would go. There was less pain than I was hoping. The lady was super nice. It's out. But I am now having like a normal bleeding and a normal cramping. I never thought that I would experience period cramps as like a kind of ecstatic relief. But like over the last day or two, I've been having cramps and I keep like bracing for them to be fucked up. And then they're just normal. And I'm like, wow. I mean, it's still painful and I still felt like shit on Sunday and I didn't stream, but like, wow, I feel so much better. Remember when Jordan Peterson tweeted out the medical bondage video because he thought that China was stealing people's sperm? Oh my God. Jordan Peterson is just such a gullible little cuties. Lux, has your cycle's been affected by going on tea? I'm on like such a low dose that I don't think it's affecting that right now. Like I'm on the lowest dose I've ever been on. His whole shtick is just saying no you, even when it doesn't make sense. Remember when he testified and when he asked if he was just drumming up clicks for his show, his rebuttal was, are you just trying to get clicks? To the senators whose job it was to be there. You need chocolate and a teddy bear stat. I do need chocolate. I don't have any right now. I need donos. Actually, that's not true. For chocolate, I have food stamps. But donos are still appreciated. Glad you're feeling better after IUD removal. Yeah, I am expecting that it will just be, at least as far as I can tell from this point on, an immediate relief, an immediate and permanent relief. And now I have to fucking think about whether I'm going to get a hysterectomy. This is the thing. I wanted to kick the can down the road. So now I'm having the doctor's office look into the little arm implant thing that they put under your skin. I'm going to see, but it's probably going to be like $1,000 if I want to get that. Unless they can pull something out of their ass and like, you know, somehow apply for a less expensive one. Because I don't have insurance. So it's either that, like, which I would have to crowdfund for that, or I could just stay on the pill for like an indeterminate amount of time. I don't want to do that. I was hoping to move to a semi-permanent option. So the IUD didn't work out. I'm gonna see if there's any potential chance that I could get the thing that's supposed to last 3 years. I don't want to have to crowdfund for that. I would have to do that if it was going to be full cost, though. So I can't get it if I can't get it for a very reduced cost, right? However, if I can't get that, then I might look into getting the hysterectomy stuff started potentially, or get the conversation started with that. Because I realize that the hysterectomy would be even more expensive than the IUD, or sorry, than the arm implant. But I would feel less bad about crowdfunding for the surgery for some reason. What am I looking at? According to Glinner, you are on cocaine right now. Oh yeah, I saw this, I can't remember their name. I saw this comedian and I thought that maybe they were a trans mask person, but I thought that maybe I had seen them before and maybe that they were still presenting as a female person at that time. But they say here, I'm on low dose of testosterone for this past year and it's been the best year of my life, genuinely. And Glinner responded, if you were on a low dose of cocaine, you'd probably have a great year too. Like, yeah, I'm on cocaine right now, apparently. If gender-affirming care is bad, then why is it called a hysterectomy and not a hersterectomy? True. Hysterectomies are only for trans boys. Only for trans boys. No women allowed, or it would be called a hersterectomy. Hormones isn't addicting, though. Well, the kind of people who will make this kind of argument will look at the evidence that people generally start hormones and stay on hormones. They will say that that's addictive. Like, they'll say that that's an indication that once you get started, you can't stop. I'm addicted to estrogen, right? Glad your IUD went well. Yeah. The lady seemed very annoyed by my description of my IUD insertion. So having it removed. Low dose of cocaine, like ADHD meds? True. It's addictive in the way that insulin is addictive to diabetics. They do not critically think. I mean, so here's the thing. You will be much happier in your life when you recognize that the Republicans and the conservatives are not, like, they are capable of thinking. It's just, it's not that they're stupid. It's that they hate you and they want you to die. Like, it's much easier when you radically accept that that's what they want. It's not that they're stupid. It's not that they can't critically think. It's not that they don't have emotional intelligence. It's not that they're sociopaths. It's not that they have like a diagnostic lack of empathy. They hate you and they want you to die. You can't do heroin or cocaine and live a long life. That's an important distinction. Fucking true. Can you get sterilized rather than a hysto? Well, the point of me not wanting to have a hysterectomy is that I don't want to be sterilized, partially. You know, like, I just feel unsure about whether I want to be permanently sterilized. And I did talk about that possibility with the OBGYN, and she kind of was like, she was understanding about me wanting to potentially rid myself of a source of dysphoria, and, you know, she was like, kids kind of suck, honestly, you know, it's not like the best thing. So I don't know. You could, from a certain angle, see it as like a gentle pressure to get a hysterectomy, you know, upon reflecting on the conversation. But I'm not gonna look that far into it, TBH. But I just don't, you know, I was hoping to not have to think about that for a while. I was hoping to not have to think about the prospect of sterilizing myself on that kind of timescale. I probably will determine ultimately that I don't actually want to give birth to a child, but it still feels like I'm being rushed into it. Are you sure they don't lack empathy? I hate some people, but never felt the need to do a genocide. They don't lack empathy. I think that they love their families, and they have the ability to empathize with the pain of people that they care about. I just think that they also have the incredible power of cognitive dissonance and dehumanization in that. I was never more relieved than when I got mine removed, Lux. I'm sorry that I wasted a year being miserable about it. I hate that it's called sterilization, TBH. I don't make sperm anymore, and frankly, I don't feel like something has been scrubbed from me. Yeah, that's interesting. I had never really thought about the phrase sterilization in this context. Because I don't really think of it as a sterilization, I guess. I mean, yes, it is. You're losing your fertility. I just don't think of that phrase very often. It's very interesting. They just chose that we don't count as people who deserve to be empathized with. Yeah, I mean, they draw a separation between themselves and other types of people, and themselves and animals, and they just relegate a lot of humans to the status of, like, animals that they don't respect. I feel like sterilization implies something medical and detached and other. Agree, yes. It does imply, like, cleansed. I get that, yeah, that makes sense. They think anything non-hegemonic is fundamentally evil. Some literally believe in demons and the devil acting in our world currently. I wish that religion were less normalized so that we could start calling it a delusion. Like, the reason why you can't call Christianity a delusion is because it's a commonly accepted belief. Like, that is what medically distinguishes a Christian having an experience of God talking to them from, like, a schizophrenic episode. Whoa. I mean, I am a demon, but still, they're deluded. Right. We do have a couple demons in our community. We've got some demons. We've got some dragons. We've got some deers and some cows. Apparently there are a lot of Americans that legitimately believe angels are real. I know. Demon gang, demon gang, demon gang. You got the imps. It's true. Demon Mama fans, sound off. Sound off, Demon Mama fans. I'm looking forward to not producing gametes anymore. So here's my thoughts. If I were to get surgery today, if I were to get a hysterectomy today, here's my thoughts. I think I want to get rid of my left ovary. I don't know. I would want to talk to my doctor about whether there's a big difference between keeping one or both ovaries. I want to either keep one or both of them. Demon Mama fans are probably at Demon Mama stream right now. Oh yeah, she is. She did steal my Tuesday. Yeah, she is here. Or she is streaming tonight. And, like, yeah. That's a good point. But I would get the fallopian tubes removed, because that's where a lot of ovarian cancer starts at, is in the fallopian tubes. And then I would want the uterus removed, because, like, the uterus is a lot of the muscle involved in cramping. So it's like, I would want that, but I think I would maybe want to keep the cervix aspect of the uterus. So it's called a supracervical hysterectomy. So, I mean, like, that's kind of my general thoughts on what I might end up doing. Too bad ability to donate to trans femmes isn't a thing. Right. If I got rid of one of my ovaries, it's the painful one. It's the problem ovary. That's why I want it removed. It's the one that hurts consistently. Although it is hurting a lot less now that I have the IUD out. It was so weird. Like, why does my ovary hurt when I have an IUD in my uterus? Like, my ovary is supposed to be over here. I mean, I'll donate my testes after bottom surgery to any trans mask who wants them. They won't be useful, but you could put them in resin or something. I know some people try to keep them in a jar. I feel like a lot of places don't allow you to keep the material because it is, like, considered a biotoxic thing. Like, does it have a cyst? It's normal for ovaries to have cysts. That's, like, part of the function of the ovaries. So, yeah, I mean, there could be a cyst there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's, like, a long-term problem, you know? Leah, why is prayer protected but astral projection is not? Can we check on the resin hot dog? What resin hot dog? Oh, no. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, this sounds bad. Oh, damn. I didn't think that the Jewish community was, like, against quote-unquote gender ideology. What are you talking about? What resin hot dog? You make me feel like I'm insane. The internet makes me feel crazy. I was told with the way they take it out now, it's kind of not a whole organ anymore, so not much to keep. Yeah, I didn't assume that there was going to be very much of a, like, an intact uterus for me to take home. The live stream is offline. Is this an actual thing? Like, is this a thing? You make me feel crazy. Load Reddit. Oh my god. I mean, that sure is a hot dog in resin. Two years. I mean, I guess it's gonna be perfectly preserved forever. I mean, there's probably all kinds of junk inside of the hot dog. Like, there's probably all kinds of bacterium inside the hot dog. Wow. It will keep as long as the plastic holds up. Yeah, I mean, but why? This is chaotic neutral energy. This is what is meant by chaotic neutral energy. Yeah, one day archaeologists are gonna dig it up and determine if it was a male or female hot dog. Christ. Imagine smashing it with a hammer. It would be squishy on the inside, though. Six hours ago, Trump en route to arraignment at NYC courthouse.
One of the first officers arriving, and now we see the SUVs here pulling up Anderson. And they are pulling up here now to the door.
Can you guys stand back?
And we see several of the SUVs here, Anderson, pulling up to the corner. And the former president, Donald Trump, is about to step out of this SUV and enter the Manhattan DA's office, where he will be placed under arrest. And here it is, from what we can see, a couple of the Secret Service agents now getting out of their cars here down the street on Hogan Place in front of the Manhattan DA's office.
And there he is.
And
waving to the crowd.
There he is. We can see him here, Anderson. And his back is to us, and we can see him slowly walking in.
Shimon, we have an
surrounded
over-the-head
by
shot
those
that we're
Secret
looking
Service
at now of the former president walking down with several of his Secret Service officers walking into the building. And Karen, you're saying as soon as he enters that building, he is technically under arrest?
Yes. He will be in the custody of the DA's office investigators, obviously with his Secret Service guard as well. And he will be told he is under arrest and he is in their custody at this time.
So at this moment at 1:24 p.m. Eastern Time, Donald J. Trump is under arrest.
Wow. Excellent. Trump was apparently given the opportunity to be arraigned over Zoom. He insisted on doing it in person. The Secret Service also tried to get him to do it at night for safety, but he wants to show. He wants to wave at the crowd. Let's go. Yeah. Has Trump taken a pie to the face? I don't think he ever has, unfortunately. I feel like CNN has been covering this a bit too much, like nonstop coverage, just waiting for someone to come outside and say something. I mean, obviously it's a big deal, but yeah, you could be talking about, oh, you know, for example, what's something that they could be talking about? You know what they could be talking about? They could be talking about how a 25-year rail engineer for Norfolk Southern has filed a federal whistleblower lawsuit. Lance Johnston was fired after he reported a defective brake that could have caused a derailment. A Norfolk supervisor told him to use the train anyway, reportedly from the New York Times. Johnston said operations really began deteriorating 4 years ago when Norfolk adopted, quote, efficiency measures known in the industry as precision scheduled railroading. He said the cutbacks meant there were not enough people to repair and maintain the trains. Another rail industry whistleblower told us that such safety violations are now being routinely ignored. Yeah, have you noticed a new train derailment story every day this year? It's not just you. There are 1,700 train derailments every year, and the rate of train accidents has risen 27% over the last 10 years. We could be talking about this. CNN? Lance Johnston from Some More Surfs. True. Feels like back in 2016 when Trump just got too much airtime on the news, when they covered Trump's empty podium while Bernie Sanders was giving speeches. This is on brand for CNN. I mean, it sounds about right, yeah? We do need strong rail unions. It's crazy how we don't have a far left party in this country. It's like, I think it's obvious that our government is incompatible with any meaningful human rights progress. Because you look at this situation where, you know, so many leftists feel so frustrated because we've got, you know, AOC and Bernie, but that's fucking it. That's the closest thing we have to representation in our government. And they don't even go anywhere near far enough. You know, we have right-wingers in our government who are outright advocating for the eradication of trans people, Marjorie Taylor Greene, but you don't have any elected officials saying, like, excuse me, all landlords' property needs to be expropriated, and, like, you know, anything severe, like a severe punishment for hoarding wealth or anything like that. Like, it's very obvious that it's not possible in our system for people with good morals who actually want to make positive change to get in power. Like, this government is incompatible with human rights. When 9/11 happened, that's all CNN covered for a month. I mean, that kind of makes a little bit more sense, but I mean, it definitely contributed to a lot of Islamophobia in this country. I just want to have enough money and space to care for pets, plants, and kids. Is that too much to ask? Yeah, we need more housing. Landlords make housing so hard in the USA. Right, like when my teenage siblings are ready to move out and potentially come live with me, like, I'm gonna need to rent a house. Like a big house, and not just like a small space. And so, like, it's gonna be kind of difficult in terms of the increase in rent. Like, I live in a place that's kind of cheap because it's not a great place, and that's fine. It's like working for me. But I'm gonna need to have like a better place to live. And that's just gonna like be a challenge because landlords are increasing the prices of housing. Like, yeah, meanwhile, the wage hasn't really gone up. Anybody's wages gone up in the last year? Raise your left hand if your wage has gone up in the last year, and raise your right hand if your rent has gone up in the last year. And raise both hands if both. Like, yeah, three bedroom house in Ohio, just down the road from a train derailment. My rent gone up to $666. Mine did, but that's because I was unemployed before. And rent has gone up for sure. I just want to exist, not be in anyone's way, not worry about surviving. But that's radical and extreme in this country, which pushed me so much further left. Yeah. Disability hasn't gone up here since the 90s. My wages have gone up, but it feels like it barely keeps up. If you didn't get a raise that was equivalent to the rate of inflation last year, then you got a pay cut. Left hand and right hand, right? I think I'm making more money now than I was at this time last year. Well, it's hard to say because last year, like, I had just started streaming around this time of year, so I was still kind of riding that this is brand new kind of wave. And so now it's kind of like, you know, it's going to settle into like its yearly pattern after this point, and we'll kind of see how it gets compared from that point forward. I'm doing pretty well, though. I get $400 supplied for rent, and that's it on disability. Holy shit, fuck this country, dude. Or, I mean, you might be from Canada, too. I mean, fuck Canada, too, though. I got a 50-cent per hour raise earlier this year, but also my rent goes up $200 a month next month, and that 50 cents was less than inflation. My wages went up, but not to keep up with the rate of inflation, so no, my mortgage is steady, but my condo fee could go up. My plan is to start a polycule so I can split rent 3 ways, or more on a 1-bedroom. True. I'm planning on getting like a king-size bed when I do get a bed, and so I'm like, okay, it's not 100% practical for me to have a king-size bed as a single person. But like, if my partner and I move back in together, then we'll have a big enough bed for the 2 of us. Or maybe someday I'll want to get a giant dog. Or maybe someday I'll have 4 cats. Or maybe someday I'll get absorbed into a polycule and I'm the only person with a stable credit history, so I am the only one with a bed big enough. Like, I don't know. I saw the old apartment building I used to live at. It's listed on Zillow, and rent went up from $325 to $575 a month. Oh my god. I still see apartment listings and stuff sometimes because I was searching for housing not too long ago, and they were like, the prices are just continuing to go. Like, it's crazy what people are trying to charge right now. I will have no rent soon, moving in with my partner as he owns his house, but we'll be in the US, so suddenly we'll have to pay healthcare. True. That's a bummer. I'm only on a queen bed right now, but last time I was in a triad, we slept on a double and it was okay. Ohio-based Polycule will make a deal. I'm on disability and still have to work 16 hours a month to get the bare minimum to survive. It's fucking rough out there, y'all. Okay, I need to get water really fast, so I'll come back in a moment. Ugh. In the US, healthcare is pretty much the price of a house long term. Yeah, that's why I don't really get much healthcare, TBH. Wada wada. Wada wada. Wada wada. Wada wada. Wada wada. Wada wada. Hydrate or dihydrate. I can't sleep in a bed with other people, I discovered. That is a bummer. I think I sleep better in a bed alone, but also the bed that I was sleeping in with my partner in fucking sucks. Ugh, excuse me. I'm like in the middle north of Michigan, so not much I can do if I want to move out of state, unless Canada maybe. Just move north. Just go north. Same here in Europe. Income went up 4%, but bills went up over 15%. Energy prices even doubled. Yo, the fucking gas prices this fucking winter have been crazy. Like, why? Just because? Like, genuinely, it's such an opportunistic. It kind of feels like every fucking business in this country is just opportunistically jacking up prices. They don't have any excuse. It's not like COVID. It's like, I mean, yes, like a million workers are dead and more than, several million other workers are permanently disabled. It's like the eggs thing. None of these companies are reporting avian flu. I think an oil company went under or something. It's not even next month. My current lease is up on the 28th. Ugh, that sucks. I like small beds, but need a bigger one for space for my pets. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe someday I'll get 4 cats, and I'll need a huge king-size bed for all 4 of my cats. When I become a permanently single person. Saudi Arabia is cutting production in order to raise prices. They're giving the US the finger. Really? Yeah, Mama Mephistopheles. Going from splitting a 3-bedroom with 2 roomies to soloing a 1-bedroom. It's hard for me to say whether I'm paying more per month now than I was prior, because I have food stamps now, and that is such a huge relief. Like, it offsets my costs so much. I would not be able to afford to live where I do now if I hadn't been able to buy. Rent for this 1-bedroom apartment went from $1,600 with utilities to like almost $3,000. Holy shit. Capitalism is a philosophy of endless growth, which is the ideology of cancer. And like a cancer, it will kill the host. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Let's see. I did have a... Okay, are there any... There's not going to be any reported election results. Election results. For a few hours. Oh, there's some stuff that we can watch today that might be kind of nice to just, like, relax and watch. Perhaps. Oil producers cutting production. Why would that affect my gas prices, though? Is like the... I don't know, I guess it's not propane. Or is it propane? Energy prices are highly influenced by the Ukraine war. Gas exports from Russia have come to a halt. I feel like gasoline isn't that much more expensive than usual. I mean, you know, gas is like $3 a gallon or something like that, which is kind of expensive, but I've been alive when it's been like $4. My mortgage is less than a 2-bedroom apartment and I have almost half an acre. That's another thing that fucking sucks about feeling like I might need to leave this country is like, oh, you know, actually maybe I might have a good enough credit in a couple years to like buy a house, but I don't want to buy a house here. I guess you could buy the house and then turn around and sell it in a couple years. Like, your first house doesn't have to be your permanent house, and you don't even necessarily have to pay off your whole mortgage before you sell it. You could sell your mortgage, right, to someone else. Gas prices go up because Joe Brandon raises the gas prices dial in the Oval Office because he is literally 1984. Dang it, Bobby. Do y'all remember Cops Hate Mo? It's been a little while since they've posted a video. I just want a nice condo somewhere in the Pacific Northwest with at least one cat. It is still super strange to me that I don't live with a cat right now. Like, I can't figure it out. Do y'all know who Cops Hate Mo is? They did some really good videos a while back about Calvin Guerra. Some, like, revealing videos about Calvin Guerra. Because Mo posted a video 5 days ago about, how much difficulty they've had trying to get top surgery in New Zealand. And I was kind of thinking we might watch it because my voice is tired and I want content tonight. And because I think that it would be a good opportunity for us to weaponize our kindness. So, what do we think of that? Do we think of listening to Mo talk about their attempt to get top surgery? Hello, Silent. Hello. Honestly, it's a wash if you have to run for your life and abandon a property or rent. Just one is cheaper. Yeah, just gonna keep renting for a while. Cops Hate Mo, cool. Yeah. Yeah, that reminds me a lot of Abby Thorne's video about the UK. Yes. True, Silent says that she's gonna go like the video, even though she's watching on the site. We're doing good on likes. People are leaving a like even though they're leaving the stream, which is so nice of them. People are coming in and they're like, this conversation is not for me, but they are hitting like before they go, so we're doing pretty good on likes today. Ooh, it's YouTube chat. So, first of all, so we might, like, go ahead and watch some of this video, but the very first thing you need to do is click this link and go leave a nice comment. Tell Mo how cool you think they are, and hit like on the video, and comment. You can say love from the Horde if you want. Mo is not going to know what the fuck that means, but we're going to send some positivity over to Mo and listen to them talk about this experience that they've had. And we will increase the visibility on this issue for sure. Who is talking to me? Okay. So let's do this and make it bigger. And I want to make sure that you can hear everything.
Hello, my friends. My name is Mo, and I hope you're sitting comfortably. While this video won't be as long or structured as my previous two, it has been a while since I made one at all, and it would be a shame for you to watch in a state of discomfort. This is an unscripted video, which I'm a little nervous about, I'll do my best to articulate everything as succinctly as possible, but be warned, efficiency is not one of my skills. Today, I want to talk about
the neurodivergent feels, the neurodivergent moment.
State of trans healthcare in New Zealand, which is where I live, and my own struggles trying to access publicly funded top surgery.
This vest looks very smart on them, though. This like vest and shirt combo looks so good on them. When you leave a comment, because you need to leave a positive comment, you should tell them how great they look in this outfit. And like with the slight amount of eyeliner, like wow, the look is really working.
In 2020, I'm 18 years old, I've just moved out of home. I decided pretty much straight away it was time to start trying to get top surgery. So I went to my GP and he was all right. He was like an old man. He asked me about my gender identity disorder, and I had to say that that was a term from the previous DSM, and the most up-to-date one now talked about gender dysphoria. I mean, okay. I was like, right, whatever. No, let's talk about my gender identity disorder. And I didn't really care about that.
I was diagnosed with gender identity disorder, but it was like 10 years ago, like almost 10 years ago. It was like 7 or 8 years ago now. Poor Mo. Fucking, yeah, I sped it up slightly. Is it too much? Do I need to take it back down? I just didn't want it to be going exactly the right speed. Yeah, the jawline. Mo has such an interesting look. Gothic and vampire vibe going on. Steampunk. Yeah. I can picture them as a bartender in a saloon. Okay, it's a little fast. I took it down a little bit then.
Too much. He's a GP. His job is to kind of have a little bit of knowledge about a lot of things as opposed to being a specialist. And at the end of the appointment, he was like, okay, I'm going to send your details over to the breast clinic. And
so this is starting in 2020 when Mo is 18. This is their first appointment in 2020.
Go from there. And so I left feeling relatively positive. He did warn me that as they only did 4 publicly funded top surgeries a year, it was probably going to be a rather long wait. But I already knew that, so that wasn't some kind of nasty surprise. And all in all,
That seems like an incredibly small number of top surgeries, but I also don't think the population of New Zealand is super big. A little bit of Dennis Reynolds in their face, TBH. I guess a little. I don't know if that's a compliment.
Kind of felt positive. Sort of like a month later, maybe, a few weeks, I got given a readiness assessment form. Basically just asked me a lot of questions about my mental health and how all this trans stuff, affected me mentally. So they took it, they reviewed it, and they were like, sweet, all right, let's put you in the system and put you on the wait list. Now from here, there was a long wait, probably about a year. And in that time, I decided I wanted to take a gap year, and I moved back down to Dunedin to live with my mum. And I get a letter saying that my top surgery appointment has now been scheduled for August. I was kind of over the moon. Like, that was the best news I had heard all year. Unfortunately, because I was now living in Dunedin, Wellington was quite a long way away. And it wasn't worth trying to get on the wait list for top surgery in Dunedin, because by the time I got close to an appointment, I would have moved back to Wellington. I managed to sort of scrape together what I needed to fly up to Wellington for my appointment. But when I got to the hospital and when I went up to the receptionist, she said that I'd missed a call and that they just kind of assumed that meant I didn't want the surgery anymore and they'd cancelled my appointment. I'm not going to lie, I cried in the waiting room.
This is like a horrendous and unique experience for trans people, where we get strung along and they're like, oh yeah, you missed a call, so we just decided to cancel your appointment. And like, meanwhile, Mo is a college student who's moving back and forth from home and the place where they're going to college and like having a job. And like, I knew that Mo had like a kind of weird touch and go living situation over the past couple years, but there are some details about it in this that I did not know before. Something similar happened to me recently. Yeah. It's especially in these countries that have publicly funded healthcare for trans people that they do this dangling the carrot in front of you thing. They're like, yeah. We'll do it then. We're going to cancel and reschedule and like just like fucking assume that you don't want the surgery anymore because you missed a single phone call. And like in America, dude, you cannot possibly pin all of that on a phone call when like meanwhile I'm getting spam calls like 6 times a day. Yeah, exactly. Imagine if we treated literally any other medical need that way. It's negligent and it's malpractice. Yeah, I agree.
Publicly, it's not particularly elegant, It's a bit embarrassing, but I didn't know what to do. I'd waited a year for this appointment. I'd flown up to Wellington for this appointment, and then they were just going to take it away from me. Luckily, however, I think my thinly veiled theatrics did manage to pull on the heartstrings of the receptionist, because they decided that actually they could give me my appointment, it's all right. And so I was left to wait in the waiting room for about an hour. That was a lot to process, but eventually I got to have my appointment, and do you know what I will say? You know, if we're going to look at the bright side of things, taking my shirt off in front of someone for the first time was not as anxiety-inducing as it could have been, because I was too busy worrying about other things. So, yeah, we can thank them for that.
And so keep in mind also, this was Mo waiting for the privilege to take off their shirt in front of someone for the first time ever. Like, they had never taken their shirt off in front of someone before. And so they are waiting for the pleasure of getting to do this for a surgeon who may or may not actually follow through and be their surgeon. My wait for GRS is almost a year. Yeah. I'm really falling behind on my whole submitting the paperwork for bottom surgery thing, because it requires talking to my partner about like the very sensitive issue of genital preferences. My wait for surgery is over 8 years now because of this BS. Oh my God, yeah. As a disabled person in Quebec, I experienced this in almost all aspects of healthcare. Oh, wow.
So the surgeon, he looked at my chest, he looked at my readiness assessment form and was like, cool, we do also need you to have a psychologist letter as well, but you can get that to me before the next appointment. So he says that I'll have another appointment, and then from there, hopefully, within 3 months, I'll get top surgery. Now, this was just the best news I could have possibly hoped for. I was over the moon.
Yeah, this is Mo. Cops hate Mo.
And so I left feeling pretty great. I went back to Dunedin and I went to my psychologist and I said, hey, would you be able to do a psychological evaluation of me? And she said, yep. And she did an evaluation and she was really thorough and really good. And at the end of it, she basically said, yeah, I think that top surgery would really benefit you. And she wrote up a letter of recommendation. I had everything I needed.
Yes, if you haven't already, go to the video and leave a comment of something nice and like the video and stuff. Say something nice to Mo. They deserve good things. I went to a surgeon I knew would be good, but it does mean I'm waiting 2 to 4 years. Yeah, I mean, from the moment that I submit paperwork, I think it's going to be at minimum 1 year before I get my consultation, and then I don't know what the wait list for surgery is like. And there is one clinic that I'm willing to go to, and that's it, So it's going to be a couple years long wait for me, probably. I hope that I can have bottom surgery before I turn 35. That would be cool.
All that was left was to wait. And I did. And eventually I got a letter in the post, and it said my appointment was mid-January. Now, I was planning to move up to Wellington at the start of February. But now I had this appointment, I realized I kind of had to move up early. This is where it starts getting a bit complicated. And it was kind of my fault, but I didn't know what else to do. I didn't have the money to fly up for an appointment, fly back, only to then fly back up to Wellington to live just a few weeks later. So I moved up to Wellington before I had a place to live. And I just kind of stayed on my friend's couch. It wasn't ideal. But to make matters worse, just before I move up, I get another letter in the post. And it says that my appointment on the 2nd of January has been changed to February the 12th. Now, that made no sense. My appointment wasn't on the 2nd of January to begin with. That date seemed to have come out of nowhere. Now it appeared that my appointment was in February. So I'd moved up to Wellington early before I had a place to live for no reason. So when the date in February...
can you imagine putting yourself in a situation where your housing is tenuous? I knew that Mo had been in a weird housing situation and was couch surfing for a while and things like this. I did not know that it was literally because they were being strung along by the New Zealand government on this, being strung along by the New Zealand Public Health Service about when they were going to be having their appointments. This is some of the stupidest fucking shit I've ever heard.
February finally rolls around. I get up in the morning, all ready to go to my appointment, and I decide to call before I go, just in case something weird's happened. So I call them up and I say, hey, I'm just double checking. I do have my appointment today, right? The person on the phone goes, oh, no, sorry, no, you don't. Yeah, we kind of rescheduled that to March. What? You just done that without telling me? Were you just going to make me go to the hospital for no reason? Like, I just turn up and then you inform me there that it's been rescheduled? And yeah, that was kind of what they were planning to do. At this point, it's...
Keep in mind that COVID is still like a gigantic risk for your life and health and permanent disability. And they're like, yeah, we were just going to make you come to the hospital to find out that your appointment got canceled.
Starting to take a toll on my mental health, more than it already was. There's something uniquely awful about being spoon-fed hope, only to have it consistently shattered every time you feel you're nearing closer to achieving this goal. And that was what was happening to me over and over again. I would much rather they just sort of told me to get lost, like, oh, we're kind of doing our own cheeky fun thing over here and you're not really on our radar, sorry. I would have much preferred that. You know, at least then I wouldn't be sitting around trying to hold on to this shred of hope. But whatever. March rolls around and what do you know? I get another letter. And this time it says my...
What pisses me off is knowing that complaining won't budge them and you're expected to be nice and just put up with this shit, and if you complain, you're suddenly the asshole. Like, who's fucking with whose healthcare here? Yeah, it's maddening. It's very much the feelings that Abigail put into her video about the NHS. Like, you can feel the frustration there of just, you know, wanting to scream and rip people's heads off and understanding that if you do that, you're going to make it worse. Like, you're potentially going to get arrested then, and then you're a trans person having to deal with the police and the potential of being in jail and like all this other fucked up shit. And you're more likely to be charged with something if you're trans or a person of color, or especially both. You know, you're more likely to be charged with something like public madness. I don't know, like harassment or something, you know, like you're just more likely to be in trouble about it. At some point, if you'd like, I could talk about my personal experience with the Canadian healthcare system and how I've been stuck on a waitlist for over 8 years now. 8 years! I would have assumed that it would have been better in Canada, but it just seems like every country that has a national healthcare system is just kind of doing this same sort of passive genocide refusal to treat trans people. I have to pay for it, but shit, I'd rather do that than wait. I mean, yeah, like getting a dick surgery would be like $40,000 or some shit like that, and I would rather pay tens of thousands of dollars to get that done in a 2 to 3 year time period rather than wait like an indeterminate amount of time for a free service. My case is extra weird because I have so many comorbidities. Yeah, that makes it tough. The NHS is a legit nightmare, and even though it's underfunded, it doesn't stop you wanting to scream at people when it's not even technically their fault. Well, I take issue with that to an extent, Em, because it's like the things that are causing trans people to not be able to get access to adequate healthcare on a timely basis, that is comprised of hundreds or perhaps thousands of individual moments where healthcare service workers just don't do their fucking job. You know? Like when Abigail first was trying to get on hormones and her GP just like, oh, whoopsie, it looks like I forgot to send the referral. It's here in the office. I'll just go ahead and send that now. Like, your job, you know, like, you can be like, oh, well, I understand, that was just a tiny mistake. But how many tiny little mistakes does it take to add up before you're like, this is a deliberate, you know, exploitation of the bureaucratic system just to circumvent the legislative process, to circumvent the democratic process, to deny you rights? I've been waiting 6 years to see a genetics specialist in Canada. I cried when I learned that I could just go see one in the US. Yeah, I would have to pay, but yeah, I could just go see one. This is something that I was thinking about when I was editing I'm almost finished now. I was editing the video where we're talking about gender dysphoria and Abigail Thorne's position on that and things like this. If you're in the United States, you are significantly better off. No matter where you live in the United States, you are significantly better off, medically speaking, than any trans person who lives in the UK right now. Do you know why? Because worst case scenario for a trans person in the US is you can drive to get to a place only if you have money. I mean, even our Medicaid covers it in a lot of places. So it's not even just only if you have money. Like literally no matter where you live and no matter like, yeah, if you're like I literally don't know where my next meal is coming from, then yeah, you're no better off than a person in the UK. But like basically no matter where you live in the US, worst case scenario, you can drive to a place that does informed consent. In many places in the USA, you literally can be jailed for existing. Not yet. Like these anti-drag bills are, no, okay, Violet, shut the fuck up for a second. What I said was medically, your medical access, your access to medical care. Medically speaking, no matter where you are in the US, you are better off than somewhere that has a national healthcare system. In terms of like, it's gonna be more expensive to go private in a place with a national healthcare system. Like, you have the ability to get informed consent here. Even if it's hard for you to get it, even if it's difficult, it's literally possible for you to get that. I think you don't get how much private costs people with poverty. You know that I don't have insurance, right? Like, I have to navigate the healthcare system as a person who's effectively... Like, I have food stamps. Like, the threshold for food stamps is pretty low. Medically speaking, in the United States, you have the ability to get informed consent healthcare no matter where you live. You can get that access to healthcare, you know? I could not get anything because of my healthcare private costs. Well, yeah, I mean, like, if you're in the UK, you technically can get private healthcare, but it's way expensive. Actually, I'd be curious to see, because you know, you people always say, you people in the UK always say like, oh, it's so expensive to get private healthcare here. And it's like, I don't actually know if it is crazy expensive compared to what we get, or if you just are not used to. I know you're not in the UK. I was like, because I was originally thinking of the UK anyway. I'm making it obvious that I'm not talking about you specifically, Violet. Like y'all with national healthcare systems, like it is expensive for you guys to go private, but I am actually curious if it's more expensive than it is for us to go private. But like in the United States, because our whole system is built around private coverage and private insurance, there's way more infrastructure here for sliding scale cost stuff. So like I got my IUD for free because I have the low cost stuff, and like in the UK you just don't have that stuff built in. In Canada, I don't think you have that stuff built in. In public here, if a doctor is denying me care, I can't just go see a different doctor easy or therapist easy. A GP appointment in private here is $260. Right, and like you don't have the options. Zuki, you're I think y'all should be permitted to send links. They just don't always work in the YouTube chat. It's very weird. In Canada, the system sucks because it's public, but we still pay for a lot of it, like sleep and dentistry. A lot of it has zero coverage, which is part of the BS surrounding my CPAP at the moment, and in turn, that's preventing me from getting surgery. I feel like in a place with free healthcare, private would need to be lower because it has to compete with free, but that's logical thinking, and capitalism doesn't use logic. I mean, when it comes to something like gender healthcare, the private stuff can be as expensive as it wants to be because there is a high demand, and you're not competing with free healthcare, you're competing with no healthcare. I'm going to pay out of pocket because my work insurance doesn't believe in gender dysphoria. You know, like I could be you know, potentially if I got a health insurance now and I paid several $100s a month for it, it might cost me less over time than getting just getting bottom surgery outright without insurance getting involved. But then I have to try to prove to insurance that I deserve the health care. And I would rather just crowdfund it. Yeah, the links are not working in chat, I'm noticing. It's super weird. NHS in England is extremely understaffed. I had messages from my surgery a couple of times about temporarily unavailable services due to that. Services like answering phone calls. It's like almost dangerous to get something like a major surgery in the UK right now. Like if you get a quote unquote elective surgery, like a bottom surgery, you know, that detransitioner that we talked about some months ago from the UK was basically talking about how he didn't have any access to like assistance from the nurses and stuff after. So like, yeah, on an underfunded, understaffed NHS, you get a bottom surgery, and if you have any complications, there aren't going to be any people to answer the phone and help you. You can get private medical insurance, but I don't know if there are any tiers. I'm not in a dungeon now, so if you'd like, I can talk to you about what my personal experience was. I mean, yeah, you're free to share it. I'm not doing like a call today, for sure. We're in the middle of watching this video. I should really get back to it.
My appointment has been cancelled and rescheduled to June. And I just break down. I just cry my eyes out. My poor flatmates are just there like, okay, what do we do? They were so great. They put up with so much. I was a mess. I can't imagine what it would have been like to deal with. Come home every night to find a sad transgender lying on the floor crying.
True.
My appointment is now in June. The only problem is I'm getting my wisdom teeth removed on the day of my appointment. Because I thought my appointment was going to be in March. And so I'd organised my wisdom teeth removal in June. So I can't make that appointment. I can't cancel my wisdom teeth removal because there's a wait list for that too. And I've been waiting on the wait list for that for a while. So many wait lists. Anyway.
Yeah, the wait list thing is, it seems like a pain in the ass. Like, Mo was on a wait list for wisdom teeth removal, and they're like, okay, well, I already have this appointment for wisdom teeth removal. You can't keep yanking me around and doing this shit. They're doing cost-cutting in healthcare right now where I live, and it's already a nightmare. Right, I think that ultimately that's what they're trying to do in a lot of these cases, is that they're trying to cut public cost of healthcare. And, like, the first thing that they cut is, like, elective, non-essential services, quote-unquote, like taking care of any transgender health stuff.
I give the top surgery people a call and I say, hey, I can't make this appointment that you've randomly rescheduled for me. And they say, okay, we'll reschedule it. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, my God, please say it's not months and months later. And for once, something goes right. The woman goes, okay, then we can do it in April. I was like, all right, April. You're going to make it earlier? Well, that's absolutely fine by me. So I go along, I have my appointment, and it goes terribly. Basically, I got in, and he said, cool, we'll get you to do the readiness assessment form one more time. Because of COVID, we have troubles with resources, and we just want to prioritize who gets surgery, right? And I was like, okay, yep. You know, cancer patients take priority over trans people, which, fair enough, I'm not gonna try and argue against that. Yeah, it makes sense. But this is where it gets fucked. Basically, there is a score, a number that you have to meet in order to get the publicly funded surgery. I can't quite remember the numbers. I don't actually know what they mean, but it was something like 55. But now with COVID, it was 65, something like that. And I ended up scoring 59. And this was because although it affected my mental health greatly, it didn't technically affect my physical health. I ended up scoring the highest you could possibly score on the mental health side of the assessment. But despite that, I still didn't end up qualifying. Because it didn't technically affect my physical health, there was no way I could meet that 65 mark threshold.
So this basically means, what's up, Unpredictable Leaf? Hello. This basically means that no trans person in New Zealand can get a top surgery unless they also have like back pain because they have a really big chest. So like any skinny person, because like having dysphoria about your boobs, it's like a mental problem. It doesn't tend to be a physical problem. You know, I guess you could say that the anxiety that it gives you heart palpitations or something, and that might be a physical symptom. Or like you're having panic attacks. That, I don't know, do they consider panic attacks to be a physical symptom? Probably not. So it's like, it essentially to me seems like this new criteria makes it literally impossible for any trans person to get a top surgery in New Zealand, on the public service at least, by virtue of just because of being trans. You know, like being trans and having the mental anguish is no longer enough because they don't consider that part of the physical health, whatever. All of this is just gatekeeping BS in the first place. Yeah, truly.
Which, to put it simply,
it's just a way to get around the fact they don't have the funding to fund the majority of trans people, so they gaslight people instead. Right, like Mo was saying, I wish that they had just said, we're not going to give you treatment, instead of like stringing them along for so long.
They are not doing publicly funded trans top surgeries in Wellington right now at all. But they're not saying that. It's one thing to not be able to do it because you don't have the funding, and with COVID, everything is a mess. I still think that's not good enough, but that's one thing. It's another thing to lie about it, which is essentially what they're doing by admission. They're not being honest with trans people. They're not telling us that actually we're not doing surgery for you. They're just pretending they are and stringing us along. It was devastating. I was kicked off the waitlist. The waitlist I'd been on now for 2.5 years. I can't get back on the waitlist even if I want to because they're not accepting new referrals anymore. I had waited for 2.5 years and I was just dropped. I'd had my appointments cancelled and rescheduled.
It's like so fucked up. Just completely dropped. Like, yeah, we're gonna make you wait for 2 years, like for a service that we're supposed to be providing publicly, and we have provided it publicly before, and we've just decided that we're not doing it anymore, and like, you're shit out of luck. We refuse to treat you. That's what happened. Is like Mo was like, I need this treatment, and the public, like the government-run service said, we refuse to treat you.
Countless times. And I was further away from the prospect of top surgery than I had been when I first started. I cannot describe how I felt in that moment, but it was just gutting. After that, I was left with the realization that my only chance of getting top surgery was to go privately. And in New Zealand, getting top surgery privately will cost you about $25,000. This is New Zealand dollars. Here are currency conversions for all you international viewers.
So
basically,
like
it's a shit ton of money.
$15,000 USD.
A shit ton of money that I don't have. I don't think I know anyone my age who has that amount of money. So I didn't know what to do. It felt completely unachievable, but I had to try, right? So I started saving, and eventually I set up a Give a Little page, which is like the New Zealand equivalent to GoFundMe. And the response I got was just, I don't know, it was just incredible. So many people donated. So far, I have fundraised $10,000 towards my surgery, and it kind of like, it makes me choke up a wee bit just thinking about it. I
mean, speaking of crowdfunding surgeries, do they have the link? Yes. So, in addition to liking the video and all that jazz, if you have $5, consider donating to Mo, because they are still trying to save up enough money to get to their top surgery. They're over halfway their goal. They've been saving their own money as well. So if you can help with that, that would be ideal. TBH, trans-related surgeries are a drop in the ocean in the grand scheme of things, so while cost is no doubt a factor in these services being restricted, I would still pin most of the blame on institutional prejudice and apathy. Yeah. Like, yeah, if you guys can help with Mo's Top Surgery Fund, consider doing a little dono. It blows my mind how tough it is for trans people to get surgery, specifically top surgery. I had double mastectomy to correct gynecomastia in 2010. It didn't take that long at all to get the surgery, and I only had to meet with the surgeon, but I did have to pay out of pocket because it was considered cosmetic. Yeah, like, you didn't have any barriers in terms of, like, well, you need to have a psychological assessment. You need to have a letter from a psychologist in order to prove that you need this. The root of this is misogyny and transphobia by far. Everything else is a byproduct of this. Yeah, like, consider also, like, Mo had to pay for an airplane ticket to go to a different part of the country in order to make their appointment. So, like, they've already paid, like, they've already had to pay a decent amount of money traveling, and, like, they, you know, however much money they had to spend on, like, figuring out housing, you know. I'm writing up my experiences so far. When I get my blog set up, it's one of the first articles I plan to publish. It's going to be awesome. Like, we need more trans people to talk about how, I mean, I don't really know much difference it's going to make. I would like to think, oh yeah, we need more trans people to talk about, we need more trans people to talk about this ridiculous restriction on our access to care, but I don't know how much difference it's going to make. They just are ignoring us completely, and we're such a minority that, and, like, most people don't understand why our medical care is medically necessary. So I just don't know that it's going to get better, but I guess, like, we might as well keep talking about it.
Cannot begin to express how grateful I am to everybody who has helped and supported me along the way with that. It's just kind of means the world to me. I have left the links to my Give a Little page and also my PayPal if you just want to support me directly. Absolutely no pressure. I always feel a bit weird promoting my top surgery funds. Yeah, thanks. I don't know how to do. Yeah, okay, cool. I think we should move on from my story time because I'm just gonna turn into a mess, kind of like what I'm doing right now. So let's move on from this and have a more serious discussion. Not that wasn't already serious, but let's move on from this and have a chat about the state of trans healthcare in New Zealand, just in general, because I think this is a topic that really needs to be discussed, and, well, it's not being discussed.
I have actually seen a few people saying hearing these experiences has helped them rethink things. I hope so. I really do hope that it makes a difference, and that people understand that, you know, we're having, like, an essential service withheld from us, for sure.
In New Zealand, there are things called DHBs, which are the district health boards. And there are different DHBs all around New Zealand for different areas. And the way different DHBs run will vary greatly. So in some places, you can get publicly funded top surgery, but in others, you can't. And the DHB you're with is determined based on where you live. You can't just go to another DHB and use their resources if you don't live in the area, because that's not your address. The Wellington DHB is, well, it's not providing trans top surgeries at the moment. Last year, in 2022, there were no publicly funded top surgeries performed in Wellington. And the situation isn't a whole lot better in other DHBs either. Last year, only 5 districts performed top surgeries, and altogether, they performed 11. 11 top surgeries last year. 11 in the whole of New Zealand were publicly funded. Anybody else who got top surgery last year would have had to pay for it themselves. So what I want to know is, why aren't we hearing about this? Because we should be. Because we damn well should be. But no.
I'm kind of curious if the waitlist situation is going to start to get better at some point, because it kind of feels like, you know, we're having this kind of boom in increased awareness toward trans people, and, like, more trans people are coming out. So more people are getting surgery, but then once you get top surgery, it's done and you don't need it again. And, like, obviously more trans people are going to continue being born and going to continue coming out and things. But I kind of am curious if in the next couple of years, like, you know, if bureaucratic slowdowns can fucking let up for once. I'm curious, like, if once a lot of us get our permanent services done, you know, if it'll kind of get easier, but we'll see. Yeah, it won't get better on its own. Well, yeah, I just meant like as a natural course, like assuming that people are getting top surgery and we're like, if we just assume, like, let's say the bottom surgery clinic that I want to go to, if we just assume that there's not an artificial throttle and the wait list is pretty long right now, like once a number of people get their surgeries, maybe like it will just naturally, you know, like it's the wait lists weren't this long 10 years ago because there weren't as many people waiting. Partially, it's partially because there weren't as many people waiting. So yeah, I don't know.
No, New Zealand is this lovely little progressive safe haven where people can just come to get away from the bigotries of the outside world. Nah. No, that's not the case at all. And I'm so over this. I'm so over this. I'm over everything. In some DHBs, you actually can't get public top surgery at all if you're not already on testosterone, which would exclude me, as I'm not on testosterone. I don't know what the future will hold. Maybe I will decide to go on it. Maybe I won't. It's something I'm not ready to decide yet. That can be the case for a lot of people. And having that as a requirement in order to get top surgery, I think is kind of dangerous, to be honest, because it pushes people down a very specific and narrow medical pathway that might not be the right fit for everyone. Some people want top surgery, some people don't. Some people want testosterone, some people don't. Some people want both, some people want none. Some people want one, but not the other. And that's fine. It shouldn't be a set in stone thing.
For anyone who hasn't been in here, this is Cops Hate Mo. And I would like it if you would go to the video and click like and leave a little comment if you have not done that already. And if you can, consider supporting Mo's Top Surgery Fund, because this video is about how they've been yanked around by the New Zealand Public Service, and they're not really providing public top surgery at all, even though they're supposed to. They're just stringing people along and then eventually canceling their appointments. So Mo is gonna have to go private to get top surgery. So, yeah.
It should be determined on an individual basis because people are different. The situation is truly dire and people are dying because of it. I am not an outlier or a unique case here. Trans people all over New Zealand are dealing with the exact same thing and we're not getting any help. And I guess that's kind of why I'm making this video, in the hopes that it might do something or just at the very least help raise awareness. Because I don't think many people know just how bad it is. Yeah, I'm sorry this hasn't been a more fun video. I know I've been sort of MIA for a while. I'm hanging in there. And yeah, I guess that's kind of it. Before we wrap up, I'd just like to take a moment to thank this video's sponsor, Ren. Ren is a simple and effective way to make a difference.
I am really glad that they got a sponsor for this video. I can't wait until I have a sponsorship that I want to take. But Cops Hate Mo gets like, 6,000 views on a video, and I don't usually get more than like 2,000 views, so nobody wants to subsidize me yet. Being on T for a specific period was required for top surgery in the UK as well. Yeah, that's part of why I'm not interested in getting insurance involved with my bottom surgery, is because I might need, they might be like, well, you haven't had top surgery yet. And I'm going to be like, well, I don't want top surgery. You can't make me get top surgery. But they can arbitrarily deny me bottom surgery if I don't have top surgery. So yeah, I'm not going to fucking deal with that shit. A lot of it is also directly related to how many countries' health systems are starting to collapse as a whole. Trans people and other minorities often just get the worst of it. I mean, yeah, like a lot of healthcare systems are strained right now, and a huge part of that is like lack of funding and lack of regulations. For COVID, for example. T for 12 months and, quote, living as the gender, which is a stupid thing. Ren pushes the idea that it's our fault that climate change happens and doesn't spend enough to prevent lobbyists deregulating. Yeah. I haven't looked into Ren before. I'm glad that they have a sponsor, but it sucks that they are more focusing on the individual problems. If Mo had tried to make this video fun, it would only have been more depressing. What would that be? Like, denial of healthcare. Here's some snakes in a can. Like, pulls a party popper. Pew! You know? So, that's kind of a bummer. But, yes, send Mo some love. Hit a like on the video. Leave a nice comment. I'll leave a nice comment. I don't know. I'm, like, actually friends with Mo privately a little bit, so it's, like, weird for me to leave a public comment sometimes. But, like... oh my gosh. Why don't I just say, like, this absolutely sucks. Countries with public health services are really letting trans people down lately. Good luck getting funding for private... heart. Okay, look, I'm leaving a comment. This absolutely sucks. Countries with public health services are really letting trans people down lately. Good luck getting funding for private. There we go. Comment. And look at that. I'm clicking the like button also. We have to send love. Leave a comment that says, I got you this algorithm engagement. Happy birthday. Happy birth. How does one even live as non-binary? Truly, you have to be, like, you have to have every other nail painted, and you have to have an undercut, and you have to have one eye eyelinered and one eye no eyeliner. That's how you live as non-binary. Ren pushes the idea that it's our fault climate change doesn't happen. There's a good The Problem with Jon Stewart episode that explores how recycling is actually a giant distraction created and funded by oil companies to make people convinced that we are responsible for climate change in order to distract from how it's almost entirely their fault. I've been living as non-binary since I first saw Prince on TV in 1987. Non-binary just wasn't considered by GIDS. Oh, like the gender identity service in the UK, they were just like, oh, if you're non-binary, that's not really trans and you don't need it. Half of 2 haircuts as well. A business cut up front, party in the back. Exactly. This is definitional androgynous hair. This is the only androgynous hair that you're allowed to have, is you have a bun with long top knot and shaved sides and back. I've always lived as non-binary. I just didn't tell people about it until later because I didn't have a word to explain it. True. Recycling plastic is a scam. It turns out that most plastic can't even be recycled. So, I mean, you can try. You can put the recycling plastic out in the bin with the rest of the cardboard and stuff, but they will get the bed people to sponsor you. Bro. It's like a $3,000 bed that I want, though. So it would have to be worth it for them to send me a $3,000 product. That seems like a pretty high rate for me. For only that my videos only get like maybe 4,000 views on a really, really good video. My sides are shaved, but not the back. Y'all, I was thinking about growing out part of my undercut, but I actually think that this is the kind of thought that I can only have in the winter. And, like, if it's the beginning of April and it was over 80 degrees outside today, I think that it's going to be, like, actually physically a danger to my health if I grow out my hair. Those beds are pretty nice. Casper is the bed that I'm going to get. Goodbye, Winter Nightmare, indeed. So I had another thing that I thought we might watch, and then maybe we will wind down for the night. Nope, not Good Mythical Morning. That's not what I want. Shush, 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 shush. Did you all see that Daniel Radcliffe is doing this, like, sitting down, having a conversation with trans and non-binary youth thing? Because I haven't actually watched this, but I saw that he was doing it on Twitter, and then I opened up the link to the YouTube page. You watched it? It's amazing? Okay, are we going to watch it together? Yeah, cock noises. True. Dan is a true ally. I love how this news dropped, like, this Trevor Project thing started, like, right before they announced that they were going to do a, a new HBO Harry Potter series. Like, I really hope that they don't do that. Fucking HBO, come on now. Daniel Radcliffe, exactly. I was thinking of the Helix ones that get sponsored a lot. Have heard good about Casper, though. My friend's dad made everyone test his when he first got one. I went and tried out a Casper bed, and it was very comfy. So I think I know what I want. I may have developed a crush on Daniel just because of this video. Yeah, let's watch it. That's 4K people who gotta sleep. It's true, it's true. All right, let's watch this together.
Take one, be Mark.
I didn't know trans was a thing until I was like really like 15 or 16.
Why does gender have to be associated with your sex? I once had someone say to me, like, why would we use like common like American language? Saying that they, them pronouns shouldn't be used for under the non-binary trans umbrella.
I'm a person, you're a person, I treat you with respect, so I deserve it back.
I think a lot of the time it's just because people don't know a young trans person, so there's just this like theoretical idea about this in their head.
I love him so much. Like, I love him so much. It was inevitable. Any popular franchise will be rebooted / prequeled / remade because money. I heard that they were trying to get The Rock involved in a live action remake of Moana. Is that true, or was that an April Fool's? It might have been an April Fool's. I just assume that all news items that I hear on the first week of April could potentially be false.
Hi, I'm Dan Radcliffe. This week I was incredibly fortunate to get to meet 6 young people who agreed to come and share their stories with us, and also to have a conversation about allyship and the people in their lives who have shown up for them and made a positive impact on their lives and their journeys. So yeah, I'm excited to share that conversation with you.
All right, everyone,
He's such a cool dude.
Everybody set?
Set.
And action.
Thank you so much for being here today. I would love to talk to you all if you're, depending on how much you want to say, but like, I'd love to know about all your journeys on like discovering who you are, and I'd also like to talk about some people in your life that may have helped or that you see as an ally in some way. If any, like, could I ask you,
Yeah.
is that throwing you into it too much? Or, but like, could you talk to me about like how you came to like understand who you are, or if you, I even feel weird asking that because like, I never had to, like, it might have been something you've always known.
Yeah, I definitely did always know. I'd say by the time I was like 14, I had came out as like openly gay. But I was just like, I mean, I didn't know trans was a thing until I was like really like 15 or 16. So it was like, that was the term that I thought to use to describe myself because it fit best for like the position I was in the world, you know?
Very similarly to what you said, like I grew into myself as a woman and I accepted that this is just who I am, and I came out as gay. And that was really hard because I just didn't have the words to say. I didn't know what trans was. I didn't know that that was allowed.
Yeah, and this is the thing, it's like both with language and with like representation in the media, then people like us, we don't see ourselves described in the media, and that means we think that we shouldn't exist or we don't have the language to understand how we...
Yo, her fucking piercings, though. I don't know that, wait, I actually didn't catch the pronouns for this person with the super dark skin, but her fucking piercings,
and I came out as gay,
though.
and that was really hard because I just didn't have the words to say. I didn't know what trans was. I didn't know that that was allowed.
Yeah, and this is the thing, it's like both with language and with like representation in the media, then people like us, we don't see ourselves described in the media, and that means we think that we shouldn't exist or...
Yeah, like, look at this. Man, that's cool. I like surface to surface piercings can reject, though, so I personally probably wouldn't get one. But like, wow, that's cool. Can we make a note that if you have to meet a kind of person in person to not judge an entire demographic is fucked up? I don't know if it's fucked up or if it's just human brains and how they work. Like, that we have a hard time humanizing alien concepts without having a personal human experience with that. Like, I don't know if we can say that's fucked up if that's just how human brains are. Like, that we don't have a good sense of empathy unless we actually meet people. I mean, and it's a survival mechanism. You can't be thinking about, you know, basically there's a person dying at any given moment. There is at least one person somewhere in the world dying, and like, you can't care about all of them because you would overload. And so that it's like that mechanism in your brain that keeps you from overloading on caring about every single horrible thing that's happening in the world. It just means that you don't have a reflexive sense of empathy toward experiences that don't make any sense to you, you know? Even after meeting trans people, they double down on their bigotry. They can't admit they were wrong. Sometimes people can, you know, it depends.
We don't have the language to understand how we exist. And it's really harmful because we're just continuing the system of like how things should be.
Yeah, I mean, for a while, I kind of was like in this like middle ground is what it felt like, just kind of at a standstill. And I remember telling one of the girl skiers on my team, like, oh, like, I feel like this. Like, I feel like I should be a boy. And they were telling me, like, that doesn't seem right. Like, that just isn't right. And I'm like, but, okay. And I kind of went with that because that just wasn't something at the time, like, my parents taught me or, like, that I had access to learning. And I think that's something so valuable, especially for trans kids now, that it's like, there's more people that they can go to or, like, there's more trans youth around for them to kind of relate to and go to. Like, they're not, you know, necessarily as alone as I think it would have been, like, when I was in elementary school or when we
People are people. I'm never going to meet every single person, but I still know the world is full of people. It's not personally caring about them. It's just not being shitty to people. Yeah. I mean, there is like a tribalism, hostility toward people who are different from you. Yeah, these young people are super articulate. They chose like some kids who are really able to communicate well.
We were all in elementary school.
For me, I have finally like tapped into this part of my mind when it was like, you always knew you were a girl and you've tried so hard to be this feminine being you know you are, while still identifying as something that you aren't. And the moment that I like came to that realization, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And a week later, I started hormones. And that was 3 years ago. Now I'm here.
That's amazing. I mean, yeah, because it's one of the things that I often, like, I never had a moment where I was like, I realized my gender, like, it's just a thing that it, like, pre-exists memory. And then I guess, like, a lot of the time it is having the language to even, like, self-conceptualize what that means is, like, incredibly important.
It's also about unlearning. Like, we are put into spaces where we're taught things, and like, this is what it is. There is no way around it. There is no in-betweens. There is nothing other than what we have told you is reality. Live by it or fail, you know? And like, when you go through that process of unlearning, you start to tap into so many different things, not even just about your gender, about like the type of style you like or the food that you like to eat or like the way you like to wear your makeup, any little thing, but it's all about unlearning the things that have been put in front of you to tell you who you are.
I mean,
I love her. You know what? We're at 428 in this. I have to roll back and see when her name tag shows up.
So yeah,
I want to
I'm
see her
excited
name
to
tag.
share that conversation with you.
I must know her name.
Everyone settle. Everybody set?
Set.
And action.
Come on now.
Thank you so much for being here today. I would love to talk to you all if you're, depending on how much you want. Like, could I ask you?
Yeah.
Is that throwing you into it too much? Or, but like, could you talk to me about like how
Give
you
me the
can
name
like,
tag.
understand who you are, or if you? I even feel weird asking that because like.
Okay, Daniel, I
16,
get you're
so it was
awkward.
like, that was the term that yeah, I definitely did always know.
Her name is Deity the Y. Oh my God, her name is Deity. Oh my God, that is a great name. Oh my God, they're perfect. She's perfect. I love her. I love them. Absolute perfection. Okay, we can move on now.
Tell you who you are.
I mean, I learned from, you know, out of the cradle that I am, you know, that I was a boy. I should like blue. I should like sports. I should be manly. I should like superheroes, yeah? And I never associated myself with those things. And we are told that we're not old enough to know this yet. Like, I mean, I'm only 11 years old. How do I know I'm a girl? And I need more time to think about this.
But there are also people who do have like a slightly condescending but well-meaning attitude of like, well, people are young and like, how do we, you know, it is a huge decision. I'd love to hear from all of you about like why we can trust kids to like tell us who they are.
Well, I just feel like,
I was about to start crying. Like, I had a pretty big reaction to that. Like, that Daniel is just so firmly on the side of like, we should listen to trans kids and they know who they are. Like, oh man, that hit me. That hit me a little bit. I can't see Daniel Radcliffe now without thinking about his appearance on BoJack Horseman. It was so good. Oh, I love that. I love all of the guest appearances on BoJack Horseman. It's so good. But yeah, wow. It just like, I'm just not used to it when people treat trans people matter-of-factly. Like, can you tell us, and like the framing of, can you tell us why we can trust trans kids to know who they are? Like, just the framing of the question assumes that that it is the natural thing to do. Oh my gosh. It sounds patronizing, but a lot of people give these issues at best 5 seconds of thought, and it makes a big difference to see trans and non-binary as real human beings instead of some rabid SJW or bathroom predator they've been fed by propaganda. I mean, it is a propaganda thing, for sure. that, we just don't, there is the reflexive need to obey authority to some extent, because if you don't listen to your parents when they tell you not to eat those berries, then you die. And so there is an evolutionary purpose to listening to authority figures, but yeah, it's unfortunate when it prevents you from having empathy for other people.
Well, me and you kind of share like a similar story. I transitioned like super young. I came out to my mom and, well, not telling her I was trans, but told her that I was a girl at the age of 6. It's been like years. Like I've lived female more than I've ever lived male. So like I just feel like it's just living proof that I obviously knew who I was, just like everyone else does.
I don't understand why I can't just decide that I'm a girl. If it's a big decision to decide I'm a girl, it's a big decision to decide I'm a boy.
Right.
It's the same thing. There's no age. You don't have to be 18 to decide that, oh, I am who I am.
I think we don't give children enough credit for coming into this world and having a sense of purity and understanding for themselves. Like, I definitely had that at a very young age, and I tried to express that a lot, but I grew up in like a very stereotypically Christian family.
Okay.
So like me telling my mom any type of me being different was like, oh my God, like literally she called my grandma and they prayed over me. I was like 7. I was like
intense.
7. And like at that very moment, like it was very like fearful, like fear striking. But like at the same time, if we're going to be able to like have relationships and be authentic with each other, this is something that I need you all to get,
Yeah, but I would love to hear from you also about just like, as I said, like I always knew I was a boy because it was just a thing that I grew up knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Samir, can I talk to you about your journey and how you...
I won't have been living as a woman longer than a man until I'm 46. 21 years to go. I hadn't really thought about it, but I guess I came out as non-binary when I was 15. So next year, it will have been half my life that I've been out as non-binary. Now, I didn't quite figure out exactly what that meant for me until a little bit later, but I did acknowledge I was trans and start like socially transitioning and starting to deal with transphobia in my life at the age of 15. So, I mean, I did it younger than a lot of other people, and I still feel like it wasn't young enough. Like, I still am resentful of the fact that I was raised as a girl for the first 15 years. But at least, like, I mean, I can say when I'm 30, I'll be able to say I've been out and living my truth for half my life now. So, I mean, it feels pretty good, I guess, in that regard. I don't want to bitch too much because a lot of people don't figure it out until they're much older.
When I was a kid, I was very, very feminine. Since I was like little, I was obsessed with like princesses. I dressed up as Cinderella for Halloween when I was like 3, with like glass slippers and clip-on earrings and a dress and everything.
Like actual glass slippers? No,
Classic
well
glass.
done. No, good, full look.
Yeah,
Like actual glass slippers?
And I actually went back and asked my parents about this because I was kind of confused what changed. And my mom said that her dad came to visit from Pakistan, and he told her, why are you letting your kid, play with dolls and dress up this way? He's gonna turn gay. And there was that stereotype at the time, and potentially still is, of like, if mothers like coddle their child too much, they will turn out gay. And so that kind of made her want to toughen me up. I also kind of, as I went to elementary school, started getting bullied a lot for being feminine by my peers. And I just basically got the message from my peers, from society, from my family, that I shouldn't be who I was, and the things that I liked and things I enjoyed were things that I should have to hide or pretend not to like, and I should kind of like put on this mask and act like I was what people wanted me to be.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, that's rough. Like, it's so difficult that we almost all of us, it's like almost a ubiquitous experience that we all deal with some level of repression, where we are policed by other people and we don't, our family puts out these expectations, they don't let us do things. No way, I was Cinderella too. I didn't know that feeling like both and neither was called non-binary until I was 30, and I didn't know that was a type of being trans until I was 33. It's crazy. I started transition at 23. I've seen just as many "is it too late for me" posts from people younger than me as from people older than me. Must be part of the trans experience, I guess. I never felt like, oh, it's too late for me to, but I just feel in retrospect like I am resentful of the ways in which I can recognize that I was, like, it's not just that I was raised as a girl and those things are restrictive to girls. Like, yes, that's true. But the fact that I was raised that way is upsetting to me because I am not that. It's not that I'm objecting that, like, you shouldn't give girls smelling good shampoo for Christmas. Like, I didn't like those gifts, for more complex reasons, I literally had dreams of transitioning, and it still took years to realize I'm trans and non-binary. I've been out my whole life. Plural hack.
About this as well, because I think there is like, look, obviously there are some people in the world who are just like not trying to engage with this conversation in any kind of good faith. I think a lot of the time it's just because people don't know a young trans person, so there's just this like theoretical idea about this in their head.
I agree with you in that I think people have their perceptions and their predisposed biases about our community, and I think that, you know, it's our job to kind of educate and fix that. And part of that is showcasing gender euphoria. I see a lot of videos online of guys taping for the first time. And I remember the first time I ever put a binder on, and like I was like in tears, because seeing yourself as yourself for the first time is such a transformative experience.
I mean, we talk about gender as a social construct and a lot of things as, you know, constructs of society. And I think those things were constructed, you know, to develop a hierarchy, to develop superiority and inferiority. I mean, those social constructs of gender and, yeah, they kind of feed, I guess, a need for power and a need to be above others.
And so, yeah, and it's all those systems serve generally the people at the top of them. And what you were saying earlier about, and what you kind of touched on, is just like, throughout the early part of your life, like so much energy was expent on working out how to either hide yourself or change yourself to fit in with the system that pre-existed you, that you were sort of forced into.
Yeah, and I think it's so ingrained in all of us. I mean, as you can tell from my journey, it was so ingrained in me too, this gender binary and the system that we are living with, but, you know, have not always lived with.
And so much of I think the reason there is so much undue consternation about transness and non-binary people is that, without realizing it, so much of the world hinges on a gender binary.
And I think that's kind of like where maybe my experience is a little bit different from people who are, you know, a trans girl or a trans guy, is that I didn't, you know, always know deep down what my gender was. It was more that like I just didn't feel like it should matter. These things that were being placed on me, gender didn't like have any bearing in who I was. And that's also something that I feel like people who are in the closet or who, you know, haven't figured themselves out yet, they're often not given enough support. So it's so helpful to have people who just care about you and want you to succeed and grow and be yourself. And I think, you know, ideally everyone would be like that.
Definitely, like with my dad, he was very like, he never wanted to call me Jasleen. He never wanted to call me she. It was always male pronouns in my dead name. And I remember I would like, at one point, I just had enough. I'm a person, you're a person, I treat you with respect, so I deserve it back.
And it's not negotiable.
Yeah,
like I feel like people feel like it's optional.
It's just like you would call any other person in your life
100%.
by he, him, or she, her, or they, them pronouns.
Name. Yeah.
And their name, and their proper name.
And their name.
Exactly.
Yeah, I remember reading a book.
Just the tone of voice of Daniel Radcliffe being like, and your name. It's like, it's like so obvious to him, and it's like so weird to me sometimes to have it treated like it's normal by a person who like seems like they don't have fuck all to do with us. I mourn for the girlhood I didn't have. I think in a way everyone mourns a childhood they missed. There are lots of experiences that young people are supposed to have, but many don't. I didn't have romantic relationships as a teen because I was cringe and had bad anxiety. We ought to focus on letting people nurture that inner child. While some of those experiences are gone forever, not all of them are. Yeah, you can like take care of your inner child for sure. I did, however, know that what being trans was in theory from about age 5. I had a trans friend who had fully socially transitioned at 12-ish, and around the age of 18, I realized that there was a crack in my egg. I know! Celebrity guest, I was thinking that too. I love the little caption things defining stuff like binder here, so the video is accessible to people who don't know much about us. Yeah, unfortunately, that's not very useful for people who can't see the screen, per se, but I do like that it's just kind of an informative blurb, and it's letting the conversation continue to happen unperturbed, like this conversation amongst trans people. Like the fact that, you know, it's like a conversation where Daniel knows enough that we don't have to pause and like explain things to the cis person in the room at every moment. Like the conversation just feels so natural in that way that, you know, it's like that special thing about being around trans people, and it's like the reason why so many trans people are T for T, because there is just so much importance to being able to just have a conversation and not have to pause and like, oh yeah, let me explain what a binder is. Like I remember trying to talk about my binder ever in the aftermath of Mitt Romney's I've got binders full of women thing. I'm like, I'm trying to talk about my life as a trans person, and I'm getting fucking tired of all of the binder jokes about Mitt Romney, you know, like, but people were like, oh, I genuinely didn't know what you meant, and I wasn't joking. Like, okay, well, I'm trying to talk about my life as a trans person, and I don't like that I have to spend this extra time. Oh my gosh, my nose. People who get it, yes, it feels good.
Book once that was like, it quoted a scientific researcher in the UK talking about typically male characteristics or things that boys enjoy doing, and it was all like tinkering with cars and playing with remote control helicopters, and I was like, I've done none of this.
But that wasn't how it was like 50, 100 years ago. And then if you go back even further, you go back and look at like pre-colonization, different cultures, including my own like South Asian heritage, that gender looked so different in so many different societies.
Can you say more about that?
Yeah.
Because I'm interested. Yeah, please.
Yeah, so for example, in South Asia, for centuries and centuries, there's been trans identities, groups that might be called today hijra or khwaja, but they're often, people who are assigned male or intersex at birth, but present more feminine. Right. And they've had established communities continuously for centuries.
This is all about culture, just like how you were talking about your culture. And just like in Africa, there were trans identities way before colonialism started. And there were men that would not only marry cis wives, but also trans wives in their polyamorous and poly relationships. So this now it's like, oh, okay, like this is so new to us. Or
This is a new topic I've never heard about. Like I've obviously heard of indigenous people in the United States, like, Americas having third gender or whatever. And then like also I've heard of hijra before. But I did not know that there were, I mean, it makes sense that there were these kind of traditions in like indigenous African cultures as well. I just had never heard of it before, and I don't know where to look into it either.
Call it atypical. And it's not atypical, it's just the fact that when you colonized, you wrote your history books to fit the ideals you wanted us to know for years and years and years.
And there is also a thing I feel like in the conversation about, pronouns and things at the moment that like, there's a certain argument that's taken by some people who are like, well, this is all new. And it's like, well, no, it's not.
Yeah. I once had someone say to me, like, they, them pronouns shouldn't be used for under the LGBTQ plus umbrella or like non-binary trans umbrella. And I'm like, in school, like, you're taught pronouns, and that's they, them, he, she, he, like, it's just, you're taught that, and that's a pronoun. And
yeah, and it's always been used like that.
Yeah.
It was not changed. They, them has been used for singular people for like forever.
And that's
whereas so-and-so, they're over there.
Sorry, I really like that point, as in, with language, like you were saying, we have,
Can I just my mad appreciation for this, like a bunch of people, including some binary trans people and cisgender Daniel Radcliffe, like all talking over each other about how obvious it is that historically the use of singular they is it's perfectly fine and it's been done for a long time. Like even as a non-binary person within the trans community, sometimes it can feel a little bit like, oh, you're fringe, you're wanting too much, we're not interested. You're not helping our movement by trying to break the gender binary. We gender binary trans people are trying to just move into the established gender roles, and you're fucking things up for us. So it feels really good also to have a bunch of people who include some binary trans folks, like just reaffirming how obvious it is that they, them pronouns are good. These are all really young people, though. These are all people who are very much in their early 20s, though. I mean, I'm starting to get that thing that's happening to me as I'm approaching age 30, where I'm like, uh-oh, all the people in this video are younger than me.
Terms for parents, mom and dad. And even though those are the two in the dictionary, we have to apply the language to what is relevant today.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, there's no very specific, very one way that English has to be spoken. Mm-hmm. It needs to be applied to issues and to people, and those are things that need change in our language, how we talk about the LGBTQ plus community.
Britain colonized the whole world and didn't learn to use any new spices or genders. True.
Mm-hmm. And then we look at people who have issues with new language and non-gendered language and terms that we're using, and it's people that those are not even directed towards.
We shouldn't have to sit down and have these conversations. We shouldn't have to sit down and have to fight for change.
No. Yeah, exactly.
Like, just because we're trans doesn't mean that our life experiences are just so completely different than everyone else's. Like, I definitely failed a test that I probably needed to pass. I've definitely had sicknesses. I've definitely experienced things in life that any other normal human being experiences. Because no matter how I identify or who I am in this world, we all experience these things that are a part of life,
And also, sorry, when I say I'm trans, that's not the only part of my identity. I also,
Right, yeah.
I love to use computers, I like to do this and that and that. But when I mention all of that, the first thing people will say is, oh, you're trans? Like, that's the only part of me that matters.
It's like that's the only part of
Yes.
you that they see, not that you like.
I have a whole identity. I'm not just transgender.
Well, like even in movies where queer people or trans people are portrayed, like they like to hone in on that coming out piece, like that hard, like, oh, I want to tell them so bad, and then I tell them and life is great. And I feel like now more recent shows and movies that have trans characters, even as side characters, showcasing more that gender euphoria, that trans joy, the other part of identity that's not just being trans.
I'm really embarrassed to say I have never heard the term gender euphoria until today and talking to you all. That's
a real thing.
Yeah,
That's
that's great.
definitely a thing.
And I focus so much on dysphoria and on what, like, the pain you have to feel, the trauma you have to feel, and the trauma that's demanded of trans people. There's, like, even within the, like, queer and trans community, like, arguments of, like, do you have to feel dysphoria in order to be trans, that people want to have.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting to me that we want to focus so much
on the negative.
Yeah, on the negative, on the trauma, on the pain, on the suffering, and not about what is the best version of ourselves, what makes us feel the best, what makes us feel the happiest.
I think also as I was like starting to transition, I didn't want to step on anyone's toes.
Yeah, look at Dan's face. It's so endearing. He is just wrapped. Like, his attention is just so fully in this moment. I love him.
I wanted to make my identity palatable. I would get
I realize that I'm like on my period basically right now, but like I'm realizing that if I ever met Dan Radcliffe, I would lose it. I would lose it. I would want to hug him and I would cry, and it would be because of this. Like, oh man.
Gendered, and I wouldn't say anything. I for a period of time went by they them pronouns, and every time someone referred to me as she her, still every time someone refers to me as she her, looking the way that I do not correct people.
I shouldn't have to be scared of correcting someone. Someone called me he, oh no, it's actually she, and that's something I need to say in order to, keep those, I don't know the word, keep those,
boundary.
Yeah, exactly, going forward.
I also think, like you said, I'm really not trying to hurt anyone's feelings. I tried to be respectful. I tried to not be this way, but this is who I am. And I'm lucky enough to have younger people and aunts and cousins who have told me, like, I've always seen you this way. And I've been waiting for you to tell me. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people in your lives who have said, like, I've known this was coming, and I've been waiting for you. And I'm glad that you're here.
So I've said this to you all earlier about my weird little problems with the word ally, just because anytime you hear somebody, like, self-refer to themselves as an ally, I'm always like, I'm suspicious of you. But there is a...
I mean, true. It's true, Dan. You're right. That is exactly the correct response to have. He's like, if you call yourself an ally, I'm immediately suspicious of you. I love him. Oh no.
There is an original meaning to that word, and there is some people who...
I don't think that these people are actually teenagers. I think that they're young adults. I don't think that these people are teenagers. But yeah, I mean, even if they were, like, teenagers will often surprise you by how articulate they can be.
Embody that very powerfully.
Sometimes it takes for someone to really step into what we would consider allyship, for someone to understand what it's like to live in your shoes. Because a lot of times we don't live in anyone else's shoes and we only think about what it's like in ours.
I think on the flip side of like allyism, if I'm gonna make a term, we as people in this community, we have to oftentimes accept that even with allies, we still have to communicate what makes us feel good and what are boundaries. Like the first thing a person that calls themselves an ally thinks is that because I believe in you and because I see you the way you want to be seen, I can't do anything else wrong. I respect you. Like, I respect you. So, like, if I ever mess up, like, yeah, I messed up, but at the end of the day, I respect you. Like, no, you messed up. It's not about you respecting me. It's about you taking accountability. Yeah. Because, like, you can't be an ally. You can't be an ally to anyone, let alone trans or cis, if you cannot sit down and acknowledge when you've done something that hurts someone or that can make someone feel less.
Okay, here's something that I would also like to ask. For people
you can tell Dan is cishet because he sits in a chair normally. Yeah.
Are watching this video who are cis and straight and maybe don't know a trans person in their life, or maybe do, like, what would be something that you would want to share with them about, or either something that you didn't have that you wished you would have, or something that somebody did or said with you that you would, like,
Just be kind to people. I feel like kindness is free, and you hear that all the time, and respect is, it's something you should do, regardless of how someone identifies or what they look like. And you don't even have to know someone's pronouns. You don't have to know someone's name to know that this is a living, breathing human being, and they deserve to be living and breathing. And even if I might not agree or understand who they are, I'm going to respect them, and I'm going to be kind just today. And that little bit of kindness can make someone's day exponentially better, and it doesn't cost you anything.
I think, to me, like, doing that unlearning work that, like, we talked a little bit about, I think, like, so much of this hinges on what people's, like, prior beliefs or understandings of the world are. And even if you may think you don't know someone who's queer trans, or you really don't, like, at some point you will.
I want to add a point to all of this of, like, we as individuals in this world should not be deemed as fearless for being ourselves.
As flattering as it is, I am not brave because I just decided to be who I was.
And I hope that we live in a world, you know, if I have kids, the next generation, where you don't have to be that way.
Yeah.
And where you can just say, like, hey, this is who I am, and you don't have to agree with it, and that's okay, but I'm gonna exist, and we can coexist.
Yep.
And be okay. And I don't have to be scared to leave my house dressed like this, or to go on a train dressed like this, and think that someone might want to hurt me because of who I am.
Because it shouldn't matter.
Exactly.
I would say, like, just a world where we don't even have to have, like, we kind of touched on it a little bit, like, we don't even have to come together and have these conversations, where it's just normal. It's like, you know, like, there's no difference. It's just all the same thing.
And like, that's why I like conversations like these that we have. Like, I just kind of sit back and then like just happy because it's like we're a part of that change. Like in a year or two from now, no one's gonna care about who's trans and who's gay, and like no one's gonna care. We're just gonna be living our lives and happy.
That's very
and, like,
optimistic.
Just free.
But it's
I
hopeful.
hope so. I do think it will. I mean, it will.
Maybe not 2 years.
No,
but-
no, 2 years. Yeah, 2 years is quick, but we're getting there. This has been genuinely, like, so fascinating and lovely. You're an amazing group to have listened to about this, so really, like, thank you very much for, like, coming and spending time and you know, and just talking about it more than you ever would in your normal life. Yeah, it's been a real pleasure, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
for listening.
You're just, like, amazingly thoughtful people.
I think you should just say.
It's like I'm with my people.
Yeah.
Like,
Literally.
you know, people who are like me.
Like, you're all so young, and I know I'm the oldest here, and I don't want to sound patronizing, or I feel like the meme of Steve Buscemi being like, hello, fellow kids.
So that's episode 1. There are going to be more episodes of this, and I don't know if it's going to be the same group of people, or if it's going to be like Daniel Radcliffe sits with a different group of people every time, or if Dan is even going to be in this, like, sharing space. A new roundtable series featuring conversations with LGBTQ young people provides a much-needed platform for young trans and non-binary voices to share their personal journeys. Yeah, their personal journeys, and explore what genuine allyship looks like among curious, open-minded allies and adults. Yeah, so I don't know if you know, I really hope that the rest of this series includes Daniel Radcliffe, but if they cycle through, if they get, like, Emma Watson to do one, that would also be cool. Holy, I'm from Long Island. Oh my god, that's exactly how I've always viewed parenting. Just be kind, just love your kids. Everything else comes naturally. Like, there's not some secret code. Just be kind. Joinies, yeah. Listen, I can't fucking talk, alright? It's that kind of night. I can't fucking talk. Yeah, I mean, I even feel Willow Oak, you know, I don't have anything against young people. I think they're great, but most people look back at themselves as a teenager and young adult and think they've made questionable decisions or were cringe. Even when I look back at me at age, like, 22, 23, I'm like, what the fuck were you thinking? Like, I feel like the person that I was when I was 23, like, I very distinctly remember being that person and feeling like I was drowning in a lot of fucking problems all the time, but, like, the decisions that I was making also just kind of don't make any sense to me, and I'm really embarrassed about some of it. I'm like, I literally don't understand why you thought that that was the appropriate thing to do in that situation. Like, I'm so far removed from that person that I just genuinely don't understand who I was. But I think that that's the result of being, like, I mean, honestly, maybe, like, gaslit a lot. That might have been part of the issue at the time. Having a series of jobs that were very stressful and PTSD-inducing. I realize as I get older just how devoid of freedom my life has been for the most part. I've never been free to be myself truly. I just wish I had known myself better when I was younger so that I could have been as much of myself as possible within the confines of my life. Yeah, that's the difficult thing, is when you look back and realize, like, oh yeah, you are never gonna get that time back. But yeah, okay, let's see. Are there any election results yet? It's only been 10 minutes since the polls closed, so nope, there's no things yet. I don't know if we're gonna go very late tonight. It'll kind of depend. I mean, I'm not ready to wrap up right this second, so. Smaug. I still got a picture of Smaug. Let me see. Oh, this is like, I don't really have a lot to add about this, I don't think. But some random fucking person. So Matt Walsh tweeted, I came to the conclusion years ago that the trans movement is the greatest evil our country faces. I only become more and more sure of this fact with each passing day, and more determined to oppose it until my last breath. And then some random person with an anime avatar says, you are a hateful little freak, and I can't wait until you piss off a trans person that actually is as unhinged as you claim to say they all are. Can't be a bigot if you're no longer breathing, smiley face. And then, for some reason, Matt Walsh's response to that was to say, hey, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, this isn't you wishing death on me, is it? Many are speculating that this is your burner account. You need to come out and denounce this kind of rhetoric, or we can only assume that you support it. It's like one of the most fucking moronic things I've ever heard. That, like, if you don't denounce this kind of rhetoric, we can only assume that you support it. Like, I don't need to come out against every pedophile for you to understand that I'm against pedophilia. I don't need to come out against, like, I honestly think that maybe it might have been a little bit of a mistake for Alexandria to respond to this, because she said, no, it's not. I don't do burners, and I would never address someone in this fashion. As someone subject to a torrent of violent defamatory rhetoric and the stalking and real-life death threats that accompany it, I would never condone it either. I think that's the reason why she responded, though, was to be like, yeah, actually, I receive, like, not only online commentary about my life and things and, like, stalkers and weird shit. Like, I get actual real life death threats. And, like, keep in mind also that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez could have died on the January 6th thing. So she is a person who's like, I'm a politician who's had an assassination attempt against me, basically. She is like a totally different kind of human after that kind of experience. She 10 times ratioed him. Where? Oh, there's the likes. No, she hasn't ratioed him. This has 29,000 likes, and this right here has only 6,000 likes. There was a guy who replied to Zaza's retweet of AOC's post, and when Zaza responded because they were tagged, they thought it was AOC replying from a burner. Oh, dumb fucks. Okay, I see. That's really dumb. Sometimes I just don't have much else to say aside from, like, this is some dumb shit. And I'm looking at some of the other commentary about it, and it's like, there's so much dumb shit. Let's see what else I had today. Dumb fucks needs to be clipped as a sound. Do we need to put it on the soundboard so I can press a button and it just says dumb fucks? I wonder how many burners Matt Walsh has. Their accusations are often confessions. I mean, the crazy thing is that Matt Walsh doesn't need to have burner. On Matt Walsh's main primary account, he's saying, like, trans people aren't a legitimate category of person, or was that Michael Knowles? I mean, he's basically saying, like, we shouldn't have any trans people, and I want to oppose their existence completely. Oh my god, excuse me. Fumby. The burner is for liking trans porn. True. Make the bookmarks public, Elon. Make the bookmarks public. Ooh, we are 1 like away from getting 69 likes. Has anyone not liked the stream yet? The Chaser account. Yeah. Y'all remember Senator Michaela Kavanaugh from Nebraska, right? And Senator Megan Hunt. And also, I guess, Senator John Forn, who I'm not familiar with. But those senators who are filibustering every single bill in Nebraska, we've watched some of their videos recently on the channel here. They have been filibustering because there is a bill trying to prevent trans kids from having access to health care. They're filibustering every single bill on the session, because they're not okay with this law passing, and so they're just going to make it clear that they're making it clear that the Republicans have broken a decorum officially. Officially, Republicans, you have crossed a line. We are no longer working with you on anything. Any goal that you have for getting legislation passed has come to a grinding halt because you have crossed a line where you're attacking families. Megan Hunt, Senator Megan, has a transgender son, so it's very personal for her. And they're saying, no, we're drawing a line in the sand. And another thing that they've done is they've launched a PAC, Political Action Committee? Don't Legislate Hate PAC, helping elect state-level candidates with the courage to stop anti-LGBTQ legislation across our country. Together we say #Don'tLegislateHate. So let's see Senator Kavanaugh talk about this a little bit.
Committee. I'd like you to tell us a little bit about that and what you hope it will accomplish.
Yes, thank you. I'm starting a political action committee called don'tlegislateHate.org. I am joined with two of my colleagues, Senator Megan Hunt and Senator John Frederickson, both of Omaha. And we've been hearing an outpouring from people in Nebraska and across the country wanting to know how they can support what we are doing and what steps they can take to be activated. And so we decided that this was a good step in the right direction to start a political action committee so that we can support candidates and the conversation to stop this type of legislation across the country and definitely here at home in Nebraska.
Nebraska State Democratic Senator Michaela Kavanaugh, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
So she is like way more chill on TV than she was when we actually watched the video of her speaking. But so people keep reaching out to Senator Michaela and Senator Megan Hunt, trying to be like, what can we do to help you? I keep seeing people go like, I want to send them flowers. Like Senator Michaela Kavanaugh discussed what her favorite Girl Scout cookie was during one of her filibustering sessions, and folks were like, you can't just mention that in the article and not say what they were because people want to buy her cookies. And so in response to that, they're way nicer when they talk to people than when they talk to Republicans, true. So because people are really inspired by, Senator Michaela Kavanaugh, Senator Megan Hunt, and then Senator John Frederick has signed on to this. People are so inspired by them, they want to know how they can help. Well, here's how you can help. There is a super PAC, or not a super PAC, there is a PAC starting. Don't Legislate Hate PAC. And, obviously we're just trying to get political candidates involved and hopefully elected, taking that funding, putting that funding toward candidates who could get elected and, hoping that they succeed in potentially overturning Republican seats or, so we can route out some incumbents potentially. Let's try to get the demographics in our government to start reflecting the demographics on the ground. Whether or not you personally believe that it's possible to achieve lasting change within the system, we should at least focus on harm reduction. So if you can, check out the PAC and at least check out the links and, see if there's anything that you could contribute potentially. Or if there's just share the link around, share the tweet around type of thing. Could be helpful even if you don't have any money. That was one of the exciting things that I wanted to cover today briefly. Oh God, Tennessee. I don't think I have the ability to talk about Tennessee tonight. I don't think I know enough about Tennessee. There's supposedly some representatives who are attempting to be stripped of their powers as elected officials because they tried to protest along with people who wanted gun change. I can't touch that with a 10-foot pole today. That's a little bit much. Tennis E? What happened to tennis A through D? Well, I ate them, you see. I especially ate the D. For sure. Welcome to Hollywood. Delicious. Well, y'all, I've covered like most of the little news things that I wanted to go over today, and it's getting to be about the time that I should probably cook myself dinner. So I think I'm gonna go make myself some sketty. And I will plan to see you all on Thursday. As far as I know, there's nothing crazy that's gonna happen between now and Thursday. So yeah, thank you for joining me. And I will try my best to behave, and you should try your best to behave. And at the very minimum, don't get caught.